It's the STP 400 at Kansas Speedway. Today's race for NASCAR on Fox, right there, Calamity Corner. More on that in a minute as we take a look at the Geico starting grid for today's race. 9th career pole for Matt Kenseth, his second here. Carl Edwards, second time he's been on the front row in Kansas. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., best career start in the Cup Series. Sam Hornish Jr. making his first start of the season. Kyle Busch, his 6th top 5 start of the year. And Eric Almirola carrying the King's colors. Martin Truex, runner-up at both races here last year and runner-up last week. Mark Martin, the 05 winner here. Ryan Newman, the quickest Chevrolet in the field. And Clint Bowyer, the hometown hero. Greg Biffle, 2-time Kansas winner. Paul Menard finished 3rd here last October. Kurt Busch trying to rebound, and Jamie McMurray, another of the hometown favorites. Marcus Ambrose, Brian Vickers. Back in the 8th row, 9th row, Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart. Montoya and Burton complete the top 20.
Let's see if we can get our third place qualifier here. Ricky Stenhouse, this DW. You got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Great qualifying run there, my friend. You got the old 17 car, which, by the way, won here last year, and you won here last year as well. You got to be feeling pretty good about your chances today.
This weekend's been fun so far. This Sport Fusion has been fast. Like you said, went to victory lane on this configuration last year. So, and I did as well in the Nationwide car. So this team is going to work hard, try not to make mistakes today, and see if we can't get one of these Fords in victory lane before it's over with.
Ricky, what made you qualify so well and run so well good here? Does this track fit your style?
Heck yeah, a lot of on-throttle time here. We're not out of the throttle very much, and as everybody knows that's worked with it, that's the kind of racetracks I like and what I'm used to from the Nationwide side. So the guys gave us a great car. The Roush Yates engines has been strong this weekend, so we're looking forward to capping it off.
All right, my friend, have a zestfully clean day out there, and thanks for talking to us.
10-4, copy that. Thank you.
This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Get some late-breaking stories from pit road. Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, Carl Edwards in the 99 knows that his race car is fast. He qualified on the front row, but what concerns him, he told me this morning, is the weather. It's been different every day that they've been here. That's what his major concern is. He wants to see a second group wear in as well. Krista Moda.
Well, Jeff Gordon says it's hard for his brain to process the speeds they are carrying. How does he get from last to first? He's going to use that temperature, that weather, get to the outside lane when he needs to try to make some things happen. Matt Yoakum?
Today is a crew chief's nightmare. 50% chance of sun, the intermittent wind gusts, and you throw in the new car, the relatively new pavement, and then this track record fast tire. Chad Knaus told me their car had great balance. It was very fast in final practice, but it was really coming alive on sticker tires, and you need long green flag runs, something we didn't have last fall here, Jeff Hammond.
Well, Matt, for Brad Keselowski and the two team, the last 2 weeks, they've been kind of caught up in, well, bad calls, penalties, as well as a bad qualifying effort here at Kansas. I got a chance to talk to Paul Wolfe, and he told me this team, they're not worried about where they're starting. They're worried about where they're going to finish, and they believe they've got the confidence and the determination to win.
Thanks, Jeff. Keselowski rolls off 33rd today. The weather here is variable. It started out sunny. The clouds rolled in, and so did the wind. And the temperature tried to plummet. We'll go 267 laps to complete 400 miles here in Kansas today.
Track may be a little dirty on the start here, Mike, with all the wind blowing around. I noticed they blew some of the track off down here just a few seconds ago, so you got to keep an eye on that on the start here.
See to the rear of the field, Dave Blaney, David Strimmy for engine change, Jeff Gordon that backup car after crashing in qualifying.
We say Gordon starts 43rd. He never had before because the old provisional system, you got your position based on points. Now it's by qualifying speed, and his was 0. So, Darrell?
It's time. Look at all these people. Place is packed, on their feet. Put your hands together. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Matt Kenseth had elected to start on the outside. That's the pole winner's prerogative. and it gets him the lead going into turn number 1. A gap back, and here comes Kyle Busch for third as they come to the line. Lap 1. Sam Hornish drifted back a bit.
Yeah, Sam Hornish Jr. in the 12 car got caught up top, and he's going to fall all the way back to the 5th position, actually back to the 6th now.
Yeah, a bunch of cars back in the pack there got up in the loose stuff, and they lost bunches of position. 11 is one of them. I think Biffle was another.
Jimmy Johnson from 21st busted through the field on the bottom 3 wide at start finish to pick up 2 spots.
Yeah, they'll be using this apron all day long. It's a shortcut. It's legal. You don't have to stay above the white line here.
Now watch Greg Biffle as they came by. He's the number 16. Wow.
He just got up in that loose stuff a little bit. A little bit of wind blowing across that turn. We've seen that happen to a number of cars.
And they were 3 wide behind him. There you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48 all the way down to the apron. And Biffle is settled in the 17th position after starting 11th.
And Larry, these cars should get a little more. These tires need heat in them. They need about 3 or 4 or 5 laps to really get the grip, that maximum grip. Tire's a little hard, needs a little heat in it.
Yeah, we saw that in practice where the fastest lap was about lap 7 or 8 into a run.
Single file through most of the top 20. You saw McMurray making a move over our in-track camera.
And Mike, these guys right now, they're just kind of feeling their way along. They don't know how much grip's in the racetrack with the temperatures the way they are. They don't know if there's an outside groove yet or not. They got to figure that out as they go along.
Jimmy Johnson gained 2 spots. Matt gave 1 back.
And he also reported some concern news to Chad Knaus on the pit box. He said that we've got a wheel out of balance and a vibration.
Kyle Busch spins down the back straightaway, down to the apron, and caution is out quickly here at lap 4.
No big deal. He's used to this. Kansas has been his Achilles heel. He had trouble yesterday. He had trouble in practice. He's had all kind of trouble at this racetrack.
Yeah, 11 starts. His best finish is 7th, not even a top 5 finish.
He was leading the race here last year and spun out.
And had a rough day in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race
Spun
yesterday.
out twice yesterday.
And an early exit. He's coming up off turn 2. He's the 3rd car in line here.
It's right where he hit the wall in practice, really, Mike, except he didn't hit the wall this time.
That car just got away from him.
Spun out.
On Friday, same place, different outcome. Coming up out of turn number 2. This was in practice early.
That doesn't look like a hard lick. It does when you look at it from that angle. It really destroyed the right side of that race car.
And they went to a backup car.
But did not have to go to the rear of the field because it was before qualifying.
Kansas is the only track in the Sprint Cup Series where Kyle Busch does not have a top 5 finish. And should he score one today, it will create for him a personal record of 6 consecutive top 5s. But he will restart last as we're under caution for the first time in Kansas. Under caution in the STP 400. 1 lap to go. We'll go back to green. Here's today's Ford EcoBoost track facts. Last summer, the banking here changed during the repave from 15 degrees to a variable 17 to 20 degrees. There's only been 1 Cup race here since. Matt Kenseth drove to victory lane in a Ford last fall after a track record 14 caution flags. Now, during this caution, Jimmy Johnson pitted from 19th. 6 cars in all came to pit road, including Brad Keselowski twice, and he is still there as the field is in turn 3 getting ready to restart.
He got some damage at the start of the race, and they're going to have to hustle. They keep filling that thing with Sunoco race fuel, but the field is in turn 4 right now, coming to the green flag.
Larry, they may have some damage around that filler neck, and they can't get fuel in the car. Possibly.
He's got to maintain pit road speed, 45 miles an hour to there. Then he can take off, and here comes the field. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards once again lead them down with Martin Truex, Stenhouse, Hornish, and Almirola.
Restarts here are normally pretty exciting. That's, that's when the driver knows he's got an opportunity to make some hay.
Yeah, well, if you get shoved up out of the bottom groove very far, it's so dirty, there's no grip, and you're in trouble.
Krista, what's up with Keselowski?
Well, they did have a little bit of contact on lap 1, but really the big issue, they've come down pit road because kind of a familiar story for this team. They have a fuel filler issue.
They have a lot of issues involving fuel. It might be the filler. It might be something to do with the fuel pumps, but it seems like that plagues them a lot.
Almirola, Stenhouse, and Hornish, 3 drivers each trying to go to victory lane for the first time in the Sprint Cup Series today as they battle for 4th place behind Kenseth, Edwards, and Truex. And boy, Ryan Newman sent it into the corner, didn't he, that 39?
Yeah, I'll tell you another guy that I think got a really good shot today is Sam Hornish. Sam is driving the best I've ever seen him drive since he's been in these big cars. In the Nationwide Series, the points leader. Whoa, look out, Stenhouse. That's a bold move.
Just came right across Clint Boyer holding the outside and got a good run off the corner.
You know, that looked like some dirt track move where he just drove it down in there. Not something you'd want to do every day.
16th place, McMurray and Ambrose. Now, Jimmy Johnson was one of those who pitted under this caution, Matt.
Had a vibration before that caution, Mike, and they pitted, took advantage of that. Jimmy says now no vibration, car's good.
Newman trying to hold off the 29 of Kevin Harvick.
So another guy that's pretty pumped up for today is Kevin Harvick. He says his cars have been really well. We just don't have the finishes to show for it.
Yeah, qualified back in the 17th position. Now he's up in the top 10 and 9th.
Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, last week's winner, is up to 34th after bringing out the first caution of the day. Here's what he said after his spin.
I had no hint of loose, not one time in any of those laps, and it just spins out. Have a hard time comprehending what's doing out here.
That happened on lap 5.
It snapped. I mean, he was in the corner, like I said, in the gas, and it just snapped around all at once. Nothing he can do about it. Matt.
He restarted 38th, but during his pit stop, he made significant chassis adjustments across the back. And Dave Rogers, crew chief, told him, look, this tire doesn't have a lot of grip, and it's really windy out there. You just might have upset the car aero, and then away you went.
I think that's right, Matt. I think you got to run these tires 3 or 4 or 5 laps before you really lean on them hard to get some heat in them, because they are a little on the conservative side.
Well, we spoke about Jeff Gordon in qualifying. He drives it down into turn 1, goes through the middle of 1 and 2, and it just came around with him on the exit.
Spun around.
Look who's running right together. Tony Stewart, Joey Logano. We've seen this before.
And this is a battle for the 21st position. Stewart in the 14, Logano in the 22.
Stewart qualified 18th, which was a lot better than he practiced. We'll see how he fares here as Jeff Gordon tries to work his way up through the field. He is 30th after starting in the back, officially 43rd, with a couple of other cars that went to the back lined up behind him. At 10th place, Kurt Busch, who tested an Australian V8 supercar this week.
Yeah, he did.
Is in 10th ahead of Montoya.
Yeah, I had a chance to go down there and do that, Mike, but it didn't work out on my schedule. I would have loved to not only driven the supercar, the V8 supercar, but go to Austin and see that beautiful racetrack. What a fantastic facility.
Now, Montoya in the 42, he has been fast all weekend long. He just didn't get a great qualifying run in. Qualified 19th, about to crack the top 10.
From the back, Dave Blaney and Jeff Gordon have each gained 13 spots. Bobby Labonte up 9, Montoya and Harvick 8. Boy, Stenhouse just put a power move on Sam Hornish and passed him coming out at turn number 4 for 5th place.
Boy, you just see the confidence in Stenhouse today. He is driving that car where nobody else is going. He's going up high and cutting down into the center of the turn, passing people. He is on it.
Krista?
Well, they definitely have confidence in this race. That's actually what Ricky told me. He said the fact that they tested here and had such a good qualifying effort, he said they were fast right as soon as they loaded off the truck. He said that they need that. They need that momentum coming into a race.
And that is a difference for 2013. NASCAR has lifted slightly the testing ban that's been in place. Each organization can choose to test 4 times during the season. And Roush Fenway chose Kansas as one of their tests.
I just like the way Stenhouse and his crew chief Scott Graves are going about their business. They didn't come in here. Stenhouse didn't come in his chest all poked out. Hey, I'm a nationwide champion here. I'm the man. They've been under the radar. They've run a lot of laps. They've been building their notebook, and now they're getting ready to go up front and do some business.
Now, just to update Brad Keselowski in that 2 car, he is still on the lead lap. I've been watching the scoring monitor, and he's been losing about a 10th or 2 a lap to leader Matt Kenseth. Right now, it's about the distance of a third of the front straightaway that he's in front of Matt Kenseth.
There's Kenseth going off through turn number 2 as Kenseth closes in. A second long pit stop during the first caution is what put Keselowski almost 1 lap down. Chevy Silverado LTZ, a VIP Chevy Racing Experience, a meet and greet with Tony Stewart. Visit WinTheNewSilverado.com to enter. Stewart running 21st right now. And up at the front, Matt Kenseth has put a lap on Brad Keselowski. That long pit stop hurtful to his chances. Keselowski is one of 2 cars 1 lap down. The other, Michael McDowell, who's gone to the garage. Carl Edwards currently second. There is the interval. Steve.
And Mike, he just asked his spotter, Jason Hedleski, if anybody had moved up into a second groove. Negative was the answer. Then Carl told crew chief Jimmy Fennig, he said the front end of this car is not consistent. It feels like it's all over the place right now.
Steve, I honestly believe it's the wind. I've watched that here for 2 days now. The cars getting blown. They get gusts of wind. A reason a driver can't figure out what it is because the wind gusts. It'll gust up to 30 miles an hour, and it hits the side of these cars, and it moves the car around.
Darrell, you talked about it in the pre-race that Matt Kenseth obviously won the race here in the fall. You just saw Jimmy Fennig. Remember, he was his crew chief when he won the race in the fall.
But look above the wall at the rest of this racetrack. This track sits down in a bowl, and we see those flags waving way up above the racing surface. It's really windy. Down at track level, it's really calm until the wind rolls up and gusts across these corners, and it blows predominantly from turn 1 across to turn 2, and that's where the trouble happens.
Yeah, and it definitely moves the car around. Those gusts will.
6th place, Kevin Harvick on the move.
Boy, he
Sam
is.
Hornish.
That bad boy is going somewhere.
Yes, he is. You know, we sat down with Kevin Harvick in your coach on Friday, and he just seems to have a nice comfort level right now. You know, it's been well documented. He'll be leaving Richard Childress Racing at the end of the year. But, Matt, he seems like he's pretty comfortable with his race car here.
Harvick will tell you, Larry Mack, that he's had speed in the car most of the year, and right now he's showcasing it. He's come off the bottom just a little bit, but right now, telling Gil Martin, good car, can be better, needs a little more grip, especially when he jumps back in the gas on exit of the corner.
Harvick pulls up on Keselowski's Ford, which is a lap down.
And the problem, he's a lap down, but now Matt Kenseth is starting to lap other drivers, so that's keeping Brad Keselowski out of the position to get that free pass should the caution come out. That car is just so loose, he just continues to lose spots on the racetrack.
But one advantage he may have, if you want to look at the silver lining, is he has been to pit road. They do have it full of fuel. He could stay out there a little longer.
And I'm sure he will with the tire situation. He can probably run 5 or 6 laps longer than all the guys at the front of the pack.
Yeah, it may not be much, but it may be just enough.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has moved up into the top 20. He started 23rd, currently 19th. And he is the highest running Rick Hendrick car in the race right now. There's Casey Kane just behind him.
Yeah, that's been the story all weekend long. We talked about it at the top of the show. Qualifying, practice, and right now you see it still kind of carrying over to the race, still early in the race.
Unexpected stop for Kurt Busch, Krista.
Yeah, I'd been talking just a couple of laps ago about a bad vibration in the front end. Kurt Busch coming down pit road, as you see, the right front is what's vibrating. They're telling him to make sure to get into his pit box, but more bad news. The last couple of weeks have been bad luck for the 78 of Kurt Busch.
He was running in 9th place when he came off track for this stop at lap 32.
Little car, and the team's been, I mean, they were on a pretty good roll there for a while, a couple of top fives, and things were really looking up. But boy, it's all falling apart the last couple of weeks.
33 laps into the STP 400 on Fox. Matt Kenseth, your leader by 0.3 of a second.
I'm Miss Sprint Cup. You're watching the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on Fox.
Turn 2 appeared to cut down a right front tire. Boom, turn 1. And into the wall, stayed up against the wall all the way around to turn 2. And that's put us under the second caution flag of the day. Tough break for Kurt Busch, who had made a pit stop for a left rear wheel that was loose from the start of the race.
Yeah, I do not
takes him off the lead
understand
lap
at all. And we were getting real close to green flag pit stops, but you're right, Mike. That's the last thing Kurt Busch wanted to see was that caution. He needed it to cycle through the green flag stops.
Play Fox Fantasy Auto Racing presented by Ford and pick your team of 5 drivers each week. Compete for weekly prizes all season long. Sign up today at foxsports.com/fantasy. Pick your winning team. Josh Wise is our Aaron's lucky dog. First one of the day. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. He was the first car 1 lap down, so he gets the free pass. And we'll be back on the lead lap.
I don't know that we'll see any of our drivers at the front of the pack do this, but because this tire does not have a ton of give up, the grip we have here with the cooler weather, I would not be surprised to see some drivers back in the pack go with 2 tires for track position.
All right, let's check with Jeff Hammond for more on handling.
Yeah, Mike, we're down here at the Ford Racing Tech cutaway car, and we've been talking so much about the wind and how it affects the car. And the thing is, what is good about this car can also be a negative. You can see how flat the side of the Gen 6 car is. For every manufacturer, it's the same. It's nice flat side. That works really well when you're going off in the corner and you're using this air basically to help stabilize the car when it hits the quarter panel or hits the side of the door. Now you can imagine what is a positive can also be a negative when the wind is gusting back and forth. You use it to kind of lean on the right side, but the wind gusts across on the left, it loosens the car up. It can work just as much in your favor and against you at the same time. So here today with gusts like Daryl and Larry and Mike have been talking about, this car can be really good or it can be really bad.
Thanks, Jeff. Pit road will be open this time, and we're within the fuel window. Here comes everybody on the lead lap. Steve?
Carl Edwards has the first pit box off of turn 4, Mike. He says he needs some more rear grip. They're going to make a chassis adjustment and put some air in that right rear tire. Matt Yoakum.
Almirola and Truex, 3rd and 4th, both have been instructed to pit closer to the wall. Expecting right side tires only, chassis adjustments for both complaining about the same thing, being tight. Krista?
Matt Kenseth, the leader, pulls into his pit stop. He said, it turns well, but I need rear security. The plan to give him that with track bar. You see the team working on the right side. They had called for just a right side tire change, and that's what they do.
Kenseth first off pit road. Mark Martin moves up 9 positions. Wow. We reported Michael McDowell in the garage. He's back out on track, but 4 laps down. We're under caution in Kansas. 1 lap to green after 42 laps. Second caution of the day. Starting tomorrow on the National Geographic Channel, new series called Brain Games, a roller coaster for your mind. Challenges and games that will boggle and amaze you. Premieres tomorrow on the National Geographic Channel. When Kyle Busch spun to bring out the first caution of the day, you may have seen something flying from the right side under the car. We did and wanted to take a closer look.
I think I believe what this is, Mike and Larry can jump in here too. When you're spinning, you cut the wheel so hard trying to save the car that he ripped part of the brake hose or one of the hoses they use maybe for a tire blower or something. That's a piece of that brake hose from out from under the front of the car. Shouldn't be an issue.
Tough day also for Brad Keselowski. He made a second long pit stop on the first caution. You see the damage on the back of the car, and he's been told by NASCAR he will start tail end of the field for pitting too soon under the caution flag. This second caution of the day. So we're ready to restart. Kenseth and Mark Martin, who gained 9 positions on his stop. Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, row 2. Greg Biffle, Ricky Stenhouse, row 3. Almirola, Truex, Vickers, and Denny Hamlin's number 11, and Clint Boyer are the top 10 as we go back to green at lap 43.
Mike, quickly on Keselowski, if you're going to have trouble, have it early so you got time to get it back. Lucky dog, wave around, got a lot of opportunities.
2 cars took the wave around, Kurt Busch and Mike Bliss.
Boy, the 55 car has backed everybody up over there off turn 2.
4 wide.
Yeah, it was documented he took 2 right side tires only, but for the most part, about the top 18 drivers took 2 tires, so I don't know if we can say that would be the problem.
I don't know either, Larry, but that thing just did not go, and it was really close to causing a big accident.
Hold your breath. Double wide into turn 1 from 3rd on back. Looking from Almirola at Kevin Harvick coming alongside.
Michael Hard today. He's looking racy.
And so is Almirola. You put the King's coat on your car. That iconic Petty blue and STP red paint scheme that carried Richard Petty to a whole lot of wins. You want to do well for the King.
That's a lot of pressure too on a young man. You got to, if you're going to step up, maybe you want to do it today.
Let's go back to the restart and take a look at what happened to Mark Martin as he started inside of Matt Kenseth. That's Martin in the 55, top of your screen on the left.
He just can't go right here. The car looks like it's he can't get back in the gas. Harvick's into the back of him, almost got him out, knocked him out of shape. And here they come. 3, 4. How many ever wide they can go down that back?
Right now, it looks like whatever the problem was, he has kind of settled in the 11th position. And he's definitely well up to speed now.
Fifth place, Harvick and Biffle.
No problem for for Harvick. He just went right on by. One thing I love about this car, you catch him, you pass him.
He told us they've been doing a lot of testing over the last couple of weeks at some tracks that we don't race on, just trying to improve their mile-and-a-half track program.
And then that's the commitment that Kevin has made to Childress and that team. Is, you know, I'm going to work as hard as I ever have. I want to get this thing as good as we can get it.
You see Dale Jr. has climbed his way through the field, now up to 15th. We listened in.
Along pit road today, nobody putting gas all the way in it. Everybody's playing the fuel game here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that talk about fuel game this early, but we certainly know that we can get some long green runs here. Talked about Brad Keselowski winning this race here 2 years ago. It was certainly done on fuel strategy that started very early in that race.
Jeff Gordon from the back of the field, after a rare spin and crash in qualifying, has moved up to 14th, and his teammate Casey Kane's come along right with him.
Michael and I were kidding about Jeff Gordon, you know, and how he'd been running all weekend here, but I really felt like that in the race itself, he and Alan Gustafson, they'll figure out a way to get that car up to the front.
Well, you see 3 Hendrick drivers running there. Jeff Gordon in the 24, Casey Kane in the 5, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. Here's Jimmy Johnson in the 48. All 4 of those drivers, like a lot of drivers, went with just 2 right side tires under that last caution.
And Larry, I remember in practice and even after qualifying, Jimmy, Dale, Jeff, all of them said, even Casey, we weren't very good in qualifying, but we think we have a great race car for the race.
Back in the throttle before they even get to the middle of turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, this car, it really is interesting. This car, you can run the corners so hard in this car with that cambered rear end, that big spoiler on the back. They got a lot of side force. You can really run the corners hard. That's where the extra pace, I think, is coming from, how fast they go through the corners.
And Johnson's up to 11th.
Well, we talked about none of them qualified in the top 20. Now they're all in the top 20.
Up front, though, it's all Toyota and Ford. Toyota first and fourth, Ford second and third, Steve.
And Mike, I'm listening to Carl Edwards. He's a little concerned about his left rear tire. The crew members have put their helmets back on, and he has not indicated that he's going to come back to pit road, but he is concerned about the left rear.
Well, we already know Kurt Busch had to come to pit road for a loose left rear tire, and that's something we heard and saw a lot at Texas last Saturday night, were some loose wheels after a pit stop.
I'll look at your Toyota top performers. Matt Kenseth has led every one of the 53 laps today from the pole in his Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Martin Truex Jr. runner-up again last week. In fourth, Clint Bowyer 8th. Brian Vickers, Mark Martin. 53 laps complete in Kansas. Kenseth leading Edwards, Stenhouse, Truex, and Harvick. A second inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Matt Kenseth has led every lap so far today. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app, and no metering, no throttling, and no overages when you're on the Sprint network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Carl Edwards holding a second and a half behind Matt Kenseth. Ricky Stenhouse a solid third. Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, no change in your top five. 36 cars on the lead lap. Keselowski 1 lap down after a long pit stop. Michael McDowell, Dave Blaney in the garage area.
The good news about Brad Keselowski, as we sit right now, he's the first driver a lap down, so should that caution come out, he can get back on the lead lap.
One thing I'm hearing, Larry, is a lot of these cars are really tight. In other words, they won't turn. The problem right now is there's not enough room. There's not a second groove, although it's getting better all the time. But if your car is tight, you'd like to move up the hill a little bit, but you got to be really cautious at this point of the race.
Like you saw Brad Keselowski trying to pass under Bobby Labonte. The car started to move away from him, and he had to back out of it. We talked to a number of drivers about the high speeds here in the Great Plains.
This track is extremely fast. We all knew it going in here with this new car that the speeds were going to be unbelievable. And let me tell you something, it gets your attention.
It is fast. You know, it's the kind of typical repave. You put tires on, the car drives one way, and then you keep tires on, and it drives another way. So figuring out how to tune your car for the race is going to be really, really difficult.
It's going to make that pit strategy even more important. Everybody's going to be fast, and you're going to have to do a lot of passing on pit road.
You're praying at them Goodyear to do their job, because if they ever fail, it's going to hurt bad.
When you talk about the speeds at this track, they repaved it during the summer. Our first race on this new surface and configuration was in October. Goodyear was doing a tire test here last August, and that's where Dale Earnhardt Jr. blew a right front tire, got the concussion, had to sit out 2 races, including this race in the fall.
Well, I know the track's still fast, and I know it's got a lot of grip in it, but it has, I think it's given up some. This is the same tire we ran here last fall. I think they probably have to come back here after this race and do another tire test.
And you saw Jimmy Johnson do just what a lot of drivers are doing, stalk the competition until the car gets away from them. Watch the 12 of Hornish here.
You can just see the back of that car. Watch that car down on that white line. You can just see it starting to step out a little at a time, and Sam finally had to get out of the gas to save it.
And Darrell, that little slide cost him almost 10 miles per hour in speed, allowing Johnson an easy pass.
And we should have known better. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 team qualified 21st. They're now in the top 10, running in the 9th position.
Remember what we said, watching them practice? You never know what they're doing.
No, sir.
They might have been practicing for some race coming up in the future.
Yeah, after the Daytona 500, where Johnson and crew chief Chad Knaust never practiced drafting with other cars and then won the race. We've learned not to second guess that.
Well, here's what they have, an advantage they have. Well, we'll just put back that winning setup that we had here before.
Because they've got one.
When they get done.
He is now stalking Clint Bowyer in that 15 car. Riding with Clint here in the 8th position.
And Clint didn't make a mistake. Jimmy just got underneath and drove by. The biggest movers include 3 of the 4 Hendrick cars. Jeff Gordon, from last on the grid, has climbed 29 spots to 14th.
Got to keep eye on my little buddy here, Ricky Stenhouse. I got a lot of faith in the kid today, but he's going to have to I have to throttle back a little bit. Watch him here coming up off turn 4. Ooh. Saw that yesterday with Kyle Busch in the truck race, and he spun her through the grass. So Ricky did a nice job of hanging on, but I'm going to have to be careful here, bud.
I don't think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. knows any way but wide open. I go back to when all he had to do is have a decent run at Homestead Miami Speedway to win that Nationwide Series championship, and he was wide open to the checkered flag.
Larry, he just slowed down, seemed like a little bit. Krista, what do they say?
Well, Larry's, you guys are talking about exactly what Scott Graves, Ricky Stenhouse's crew chief, told me. He said he drives flat out every single lap. And he said we almost have to teach him to back out a little bit, teach him the finesse. But he said, I would rather have a driver who gives me everything than holds back.
Yeah, he just dropped back enough to let Martin Truex and Kevin Harvick both go, and now here comes his teammate Greg Biffle, as if that slide off of turn 4 got his attention.
Well, the car that was next to him was Mike Bliss when he got way up the racetrack there. Bliss sensed something was wrong with his problem, and Bliss shot to pit road. The problem was he overshot pit road and cleaned out our friend the orange cone that stands sentinel at the beginning of where you have to get down to pit road speed, and Bliss carried the cone all the way to the entrance to the garage.
Yeah, and the orange cone's pretty smart. He isn't coming back.
Yeah, we felt like watching practice yesterday that the life of the orange cone today would be short-lived. There you see it.
And there you
now
don't.
you don't.
Goodbye.
Free ride.
See ya. Don't want to be you.
Matt Kenseth has led every lap so far in Kansas. Kevin Harvick.
18 out in the grass there. That got real congested down at the end of pit road there.
See Carl Edwards in the 99, his crew, the first driver to change 4 tires leaving pit road.
Kenseth with a good jump off pit road to retain the lead at 74 laps, working the 3rd caution of the afternoon.
The STP 400 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
Time for an AT&T race break brought to you by the nation's largest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink Possible. 3rd caution of the race. The only leader this way so far has been Matt Kenseth all the way, but the hot driver coming in was Kyle Busch, and if you tuned in a little bit late, you missed him spinning out, having some problems as brake hose flies off the car. And then, of course, Brad Keselowski, the fines and suspension for his crew chief, who is working this while they appeal. Paul Wolfe, second time they had problems in the pits. And, Michael, what we're seeing so far, the groove widening out here just a bit, and the issues on pit road as well for some other drivers.
Yeah, there you see Carl Edwards getting forced out into the grass. We saw Kyle Busch out there as well. Watch Kyle Busch, the move he has to make. You don't want to get any damage to your car. And you can see right there, he just reacted right fast to the 11 car of Brian Vickers moving over to protect his car.
So let's get back to the groove.
The groove is going to be wider and wider as the race goes on. We see the leader electing to take the outside. You get on the outside, you can lean on that air that Jeff Hammond was talking about earlier. When you're down on the inside, you get pinched down. It's hard to make time down there. And gradually, that groove will get higher and higher.
And we saw Martin Truex Jr. come back in. Let's check in with Matt Yoakum on that.
Chris, a pit lane violation. One of the crew members was not back across the wall before Martin left his pit box. He was going to have to go to the tail end of the line. They decided to go ahead and take advantage of being at the back, hit pit road, take left side tires, and make one more chassis adjustment on that 56, Chris.
Thank you, Matt. And the Hendrick drivers, and of course, Jimmy Johnson, the points leader, headlining that group, qualifying 21st or worse, Michael, but they have made some adjustments and are moving on up.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the crews on pit road, and they were really looking forward to that first pit stop. Take some air out of one of your tires, make an adjustment, maybe a track bar, some wedge, and that's what this team has done. The first 30 or 40 laps, the best running car they had was 19th, and at the caution just now, all of them were inside the top 15, so good adjustments.
And 2 tire stops, a strategy later, that'll come into play, what they're seeing, what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe no tires even. These tires aren't falling off that much, so the crew chiefs are going to have a lot of load on them as this thing winds down, deciding how do I get that track position and let my driver keep it.
All right, racing fans, you know something about speed. You can buckle up and play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge. Call Star Fast from your mobile phone and make your prediction for today's race. Brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink possible, and a chance for something we haven't seen in nearly 3 decades, and that is the pole sitter of the race in NASCAR winning for the 3rd straight week. We've had Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson do that. Matt Kenseth has dominated so far from the pole.
Yeah, I think Matt Kenseth thinks he needs to lead every lap.
Let's get back upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Sam Hornish had a tire violation outside the pit box. Tire violation. Have to make a penalty stop. Let's check with Steve.
And Mike, here's something that I haven't seen down here in the 99 pits. Just talked to the tire specialist, and I heard Jimmy Fennig confirm this to Carl Edwards. The tire spun 180 degrees once it was on the wheel, and they don't know what caused that, but it is something that they're going to check on. Again, if you index it by the wheel weight, it went 180 degrees from where it was put on the wheel.
And Steve, that probably did that at the very beginning of the run when it was at real low air pressure. But interesting strategy. Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolfe pitted on lap 51, a lap down. They've taken the wave around. At best, they're going to have to be at pit road probably in about 14 or 15 laps. Huge gamble, but it might be where it might pay off.
With the number of cautions we had here last fall, not a bad bet. We are back under green. Matt Kenseth had led every lap 3 wide back at 3rd place into turn 1.
Matt Kenseth will have a visitor here before long in a car that's got a big 4.8 on the side of it.
As in Jimmy Johnson 05 time.
Yes, sir. He's inching his way to the front.
Almirola surrounded. Carl Edwards on the inside. Paul Menard on the high side. And now Casey Kane on the inside. That was a wild restart for Almirola.
It was, but Almirola did a great thing. He jumped in that throttle and cleared those guys to get away from him.
Matt.
Mike, on that first pit stop, Almirola lost a couple spots on pit road because they were topping him off with fuel. And then his biggest complaint, the car was just absolutely too tight on right side tires. They made some adjustments. We'll see if they fix them up on this run.
Casey Kane underneath Paul Menard, who had a great run here last fall and trying to repeat that.
There, you talked about the gamble on the 2 car. I think it could pay off based on this restart. These guys are all over the place.
I mean, look at them here on the right side. 3 wide going off into turn 1. They're not bashful at all, especially right
after car in the wall, turn 2. Lost the handle, slid up high. That's Mark Martin, but he continues.
Good job, man. 16, got him. Stepping inside.
Mark's car is just a little edgy in traffic.
Wow. We stay green, no caution.
Mark Martin was 14th, and he had that big slide and comes across the line 31st. So Martin back up to speed, but deep in the field. Brian Vickers in the number 11. Let's take a look at him. 1 lap from the restart, top of your screen.
That was what we would call sideways right there. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to 17 right behind him.
Well, Larry, don't want to belabor the point, but when you put 4 tires on these cars or fresh tires on these cars, they just don't hook up that well for a lap or 2.
Boy, Darrell, looks like there was contact between Greg Biffle and Mark Martin.
Yeah, Mark struggled off that turn 2 earlier restart, and he did again. He got bumped from behind.
Well, you said the 48 was coming, Darrell, and he is now right up to the rear bumper of 2nd place Kevin Harvick.
Hello.
I've been watching him the last few laps. Harvick was actually doing it earlier in the race, but Jimmy Johnson down in 3 and 4, he had moved about a lane off the bottom, and that's where he was really making up some ground. You can see him doing it right here as he works to the right rear of Kevin Harvick in the 29.
He is right up on that edge now, that what dirt track racers call a cushion. There's some grip up there, but you don't want to jump that cushion.
And Johnson gets a big wiggle.
Hang on, baby. Nothing. Clear. 10.
Wow. And again, it's like what happened to Kyle Busch. The car was going, everything was fine. He was passing cars, and then it just snapped loose with him.
And at the same point, just as you get into the gas for turn 2 and start to climb that hill, the gust, maybe it's a gust of wind, maybe it's the way the car is handling, but That'll stop your heart for a second.
Well, we've seen so much trouble. Matter of fact, most all the trouble we've seen has been in turn 2, and that's the way the wind's blowing.
84 laps complete. Matt Kenseth out front. At lap 87, the lead car stayed out, and from Casey Mears on back, they are coming to pit road.
And Larry, this is where I think that Brad Keselowski is going to miss his crew chief, Paul Wolfe. That call to stay out, take that wave around, and gamble on getting this caution, that's what Paul Wolfe's really good at.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
We'll have replays in a minute. First, let's see what happens on pit road. So the first 21 cars stayed on track after this caution. Car moving up to the high side of the racetrack is Elliott Sadler, running 34th. Gets up high in turn number 4 and into the wall.
Remember, we said, you know, there's a small half groove out there, but don't jump the cushion. Looked like Elliott got into that loose stuff and the car just would not stick.
Under caution for the 4th time today in Kansas. Let's see what's fresh off the wire, brought to you by KFC. Here's Matt Yoakum.
A big week ahead for Denny Hamlin, going back to his home track of Richmond. Is Denny Hamlin's short track showdown charity event on deck as well. Your rehab, where are you? When can we see you back into a race car, Denny?
You know, we got a 50-50 shot of making it back in Richmond. You know, if we don't, we do intend to try to start Talladega and go from there and get another scan and checkup after Talladega. So it's just really, it's week by week at this point. You know, obviously with any kind of healing of a bone, it's different with every person. So we're just hoping we're going to be on the quick side of things, and we're able to go back home and have some home cooking and maybe try to get a win.
I hope the 50 becomes 100 by next week and we see him back in that 11 car. Mike?
Fractured vertebrae for Hamlin on the mend, trying to get back aboard. Brian Vickers on board until Hamlin can return. Saturday night, under the lights, NASCAR in Richmond in the Toyota Owners 400. Defending champion Kyle Busch. Fox exclusive coverage Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
It'll be our 3rd short track race of 2013, but our first one under the lights on Saturday night.
So the 2 car, you know, he was in bad shape, right? But he can't now. Look where he's got somewhat of an advantage on fuel, Krista.
Well, until they had to come back in just now, they thought they maybe had a loose wheel as well. That's sort of been a theme today. So the team checking it out. But yeah, they gambled on that fuel strategy with that caution. You see Paul Wolfe come down off the box, checking the tires. We've seen some loose wheels. Matt Kenseth, actually our leader, thought he had a loose wheel earlier in the race. He did not. The team checking. Everything looks good. They haven't said anything on the radio yet. So far, so good for Brad Keselowski.
And Larry, I think possibly what's given these guys a false reading is the camber in the rear tires. That'll cause that rear tire to maybe skip a little bit or chatter a little bit, and it may be what they're feeling.
Jimmy Hill got the free pass as we go back to green. These cautions also a break for Kurt Busch. Look at him go 4, 5 wide into turn 1.
Well, Jimmy Johnson was, I mean, he was in the grass practically. Kevin Harvick was not going to cut him any slack.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth in that 20, though, he chooses the outside, and he just rockets off turn 2.
Boy, it's like California, Darrell. Get all you can the first 2 laps of every green flag run.
Yeah, but on the restart here, I mean, at California we were with 11 laps to go. Here we're not even halfway yet. But that's crazy right there.
No out of bounds here. No. You can get in the grass if you want to.
But see why we have out of bounds some places?
Like Daytona and Talladega?
Because they would do that at Daytona and Talladega.
Marcus Ambrose coming into play, battling Carl Edwards. Couple of fast forwards there. Krista?
Yeah, Marcus Ambrose, the Aussie, has been flying in this race. He's actually been one of those forwards who's been strong all weekend, qualified 15. They are one of the teams who's gone with the 2-tire strategy on each of their stops and really haven't had to make too many adjustments. They're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it's almost like that off week really helped Ambrose and his race team. They've come to life lately.
Boy,
it did, Larry. But this group was 3 wide into turn 1, and they still don't have it all sorted out.
I was grabbing Larry out of the ground and said, look at this. What a wad.
That's Jamie McMurray from Joplin, Missouri on the inside. His crew chief, Kevin Banyan. Banyan from the Boston suburb of Boylston. Among many folks in the garage area and in the grandstand. Touched by the happenings in New England this week.
You got to see this wad that came down this front straightaway, Larry. They had the whole racetrack, apron and all. Look at this, 4 wide. They get there, just wait a minute. They go everywhere.
There's 2 wide on the apron.
They're down on the apron. They were almost in the grass. That was incredible.
And this is all drivers that elected to come to pit road on that last caution and get fresh tires and get filled up with Sunoco race fuel.
At second place, Jimmy Johnson had to battle Kevin Harvick. And here's a look at the pass for second.
Yeah, Johnson right now has got a superb car. He's going to chase down our leader here, Matt Kenseth, in a very short period of time. That 48 car doing what it always does, finding the front.
10th place, Casey Kane with Almirola and Jeff Burton in the green and black 31 from RCR. And Kurt Busch took the wave around 1 caution ago, and it worked out great for him. He is back up to 13th after having problems early and making an unscheduled stop.
Yeah, lap 32, he was on pit road under green with a loose wheel, and then the caution pretty much put him that lap down. They've had fast race cars, had those 2 top 5s. They were fast at Texas, had the fuel rail fitting issue. If they can just get all the mechanical issues wrapped around their performance, I think they're going to make a lot of noise.
Larry, this apron, passing the cars on the apron here, it's crazy how these guys. What's Jamie McMurray in the 1 car? He's back here behind Mark Martin and Joey Logano, drops it down, takes the shortcut, comes right back up, clears those guys, and moves on.
And Darrell, we've seen that here before, but I just think the downforce that this Generation 6 car has, it even makes them more comfortable doing that.
McMurray still coming, just passes 2 more. Hornish on the outside.
If it's
with
good
Ryan
once,
Vickers.
good once, got to be good another time.
You know, maybe there is a hometown advantage. You just ask Jamie Mack.
You better believe it.
97 laps complete. Matt Kenseth led all but 1. David Stremme led a lap under caution.
Plenty more to come right here on NASCAR on Fox.
As he was sliding down off the wall in turn number 4, nothing Kyle could do. Joey doing everything he could to avoid him, but could not. Kyle Busch said the car was again snappy loose when it came around at turn 4.
You don't see this every day, backing down pit road.
Well, I think he can see out the back window better than he can the windshield right now, probably.
I think he's just looking for the garage, to tell you the truth.
See what happened to Kyle Busch and how Joey Logano got involved. Riding with Danica Patrick, it's up ahead.
You'll see Kyle, the car just snaps out from under him again like it did earlier in the race.
Stay to the bottom, stay to the bottom. All clear, all clear. No
down the hill, and when it does, Joey Logano was trying to get by on the inside. You'll see Joey coming along here. Thinks Kyle's going to stay up next to the wall, but the car comes down, and that is amazing.
Yeah, Joey was all the way on the apron.
He felt like Kyle was probably going to stay outside up next to the wall, but the car was just coming down the hill. And look at that 22 car, just goes airborne. What an impact. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That is unbelievable.
2 drivers coming off great runs at Texas last Saturday night. Kyle won, Joey finished 5th.
What I like about that spot from our Fox high-speed camera is that all the deformation of both cars is in front of the windshield in the crumple zone. The driver compartments stay intact. A hard crash, and caution is out for the 5th time.
The STP 400 on Fox is sponsored by 5-Hour Energy and by Ram, engineered to move heaven and earth. Guts, glory, Ram.
Kyle Busch was 22nd, Joey Logano 26th, and as Larry noted, Joey was all the way down on the apron trying to stay away from the sliding number 18. Nowhere else to go.
Yeah, well, when the car's up against the wall like that, I mean, you know, it had a good bit of speed. Kyle's car did, and so instead of being able to keep it up against the wall, the car just shot down the hill.
Here's what Kyle had to say.
Yeah, right, Kyle?
Oh, yeah. Kansas, right?
This track has been his Waterloo. He came in here with 5 straight top 5s. He will not get a 6th and extend his personal best. As we mentioned earlier, Kansas is the only Sprint Cup track where Kyle Busch does not have a top 5 finish.
You can't make this stuff up, man. He blew 2 engines in his truck. He wrecked his truck. He spun out and wrecked his car in practice, had to go to a backup car, spun out when the race started. Now he's crashed.
Let's take a look at our STP race summary as pit road is still closed. Matt Kenseth has led all but 1 lap. 33 lead lap cars, 2 leaders, 2 lead changes, and 5 yellow flags for 17 laps. The only other driver to lead a lap was David Stremme. Stremme has gone to the garage in that number 30, which carried a ribbon on the hood in tribute to the people of Boston. Car owner Brandon Davis's wife Tara is a Boston native, and they wanted to show their support. The entire NASCAR family extends heartfelt sympathies to everyone affected by this week's tragic events in Boston and in Texas. We urge your support for onefundboston.org to help those affected by Monday's Boston Marathon tragedy. And we also remember the folks in West Texas this Sunday. Look at the numbers on all the Michael Waltrip racing cars. They are replicas of the Boston Marathon bibs. Michael's competed in the Boston Marathon, and that is just what the runners wore this Monday, Patriots Day, on all 3 MWR cars. And a lot of NASCAR drivers, standouts, and champions from that area. Ralph Moody from Taunton, Ron Bouchard from Fitchburg, Pete Hamilton from Dedham, and NASCAR Modified and Sportsman champions Bug Stevens, Rini Charland, Fred DeCero, all from the Boston area. Jeff Fuller, his brother Rick Fuller, and a lot of crewmen and crew chiefs and folks throughout the sport from New England, and we all consider Boston the hub of the universe.
I think the vigilance of that lady that saw her door had been open and the bungee on the boat cover had been cut or removed, just the fact that she was aware and made that phone call and said, I think you might want to come over here and check this out. That's the responsibility we all have. That's something we can all do. You see something unusual, you see something out of the ordinary, something not right, call somebody.
Something certainly was not right for Kyle Busch today. He's already in street clothes and walking away from a bad day in America's heartland. Bad weekend. Jeff Hammond.
Kyle, not really a good day for you. What happened out there?
Spun out twice, all on our own. Just don't know what to do with Kansas.
What do you think about the track? Otherwise, you just no grip on the track today?
Yeah, absolutely no grip for me, anyways. But you know, you're running third, doing fine. Car a little tight, and you spin out. I don't know what to do with that. And then you know, we're back in traffic all day. Traffic's way worse. Just trying to get back up to the front and making some gains, but the car just snaps out from you every corner.
Thanks a lot.
The irony of that is his teammate Matt Kenseth has been up there and led 106 of 107 laps, but he's not had to deal with traffic except when he was lapping other drivers.
Let's listen to some audio from Joey Logano, the other driver involved in that crash.
Dang it. We got him. I'm sorry, Joey. I thought he was going to stay up there.
Yeah, I would have thought the same thing. If I was driving Joey's car, I'd see the 18 up against the wall, figure he's going to grind off speed, probably land up there and not come down the hill. But the car, Kyle's car, just shot down the racetrack, and here comes Joey, know where he can go.
Yeah, that was Joey's spotter, Tab Boyd, that was trying to guide him through that and give him the best advice he could give him.
And Logano patiently faces the media after his day is shortened, trying to avoid Kyle Busch's crash.
Larry, it just seems to me like, you know, Here's the 22 and the 2. The 2's already had all kinds of problems in the pits and everything else, and then the 22's, once turmoil kind of sets in, you get bad results.
Back to a hard-working Jeff Hammond.
Joey, looked like you had no place to go right there, hard lick.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I watched it the whole time. As far as it's a little frustrating, I seen him get loose and get up to, up against the wall, and I thought initially he was going to come back across the track, and then he slapped the wall with the right side. I'm like, okay, he's going to stay up there. So I committed to gunning it and get by him on the bottom, and then he came back across. Just unfortunate for our AAA guys. They worked hard all weekend. We didn't ever have a good piece that was good enough to win, but we were going to try our hardest to rally the best finish we can, like we have the last few weeks, and. Just unfortunately, we're here in the garage. It's done. We hit it really hard. So it's thank you to NASCAR and then the way they build these cars. I went back at the shop building great cars that keep us safe when you take licks like that.
Glad you're okay.
Logano, another driver who's been snake bit at Kansas. He's never finished better than 15th here. .110 laps complete. We're under caution for the 5th time today. Kyle Busch spun in turn 4, crashed into the wall, caromed off the safer barrier and down onto the apron into Joey Logano. That is all cleaned up, and pit road is open. Here they come, Steve.
And Mike, Clint Bowyer's car has gone from loose to tight in the center. They've discussed 4 tires, but I think they've settled on 2 tires on the number 15 for Clint Bowyer. Right side tires for Bowyer. Matt.
Steve, the lead Chevys of Johnson and Harvick second and third. Both had made a lot of progress in that last run. Harvick said his car started out tight and then leveled off. He's away, and Johnson, his car was similar. Krista.
Every stop Matt Kenseth has made, they have made right tire change only. A slight adjustment to free him up just a little bit, just right sides again.
Now Kenseth leads the race off pit road ahead of Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson lost 3 spots, as did Bowyer.
But how about Carl Edwards gained 4, that 99?
See what happened to the 48 here.
Well, watch, he's waiting on traffic. He knows that 47 car was coming, and so he held up just long enough for the 47 to get by Bobby Labonte. Right here, he says, hold on, ho. Now, there you go.
He elected to give up those 3 or 4 spots there versus having to repair a damaged right front fender.
Several drivers did not stop, however. His team saved them from a possible pit road collision.
Be ready. Hold. Go. Side 1. Lights clear.
As Bobby Labonte pulled in ahead of them. Now 4 drivers, we said, stayed out on the lead lap. And at the front of the field are Martin Truex Jr., Jamie McMurray, Mark Martin, and Brad Keselowski. They did not pit on this caution.
But there are 4 drivers that pitted on the last caution at lap 88 when most all the other leaders stayed out.
So Truex, only the 3rd driver to lead today, gets a push from Keselowski, and we're back to green. Oh, and wow, Mark Martin almost turned Jamie Mack around.
Boy, Mark Martin has had a terrible time on these restarts. A couple of times we've seen him in trouble, and that time he caused a little trouble.
And McMurray goes from 3rd to tail end Charlie. He's still not up to speed.
Well, I think he had a couple of things going on, Darrell. He had stuff all over his tires, plus the inside line was just blocked. He couldn't get up on the racetrack.
Clear sailing for Truex. He leads Keselowski, and they're 2 and 3 wide all the way back. Junior, Montoya, Ambrose, 3 abreast heading for turn 1.
Let's see what happens here. Let's look at it again on the restart. Mark's in the 2nd car on the inside there.
Keselowski leaning on Truex.
Gets him pushed out front.
Jamie McMurray in the 1 was going to put the block on Mark Martin in the 55. He just got into his quarter panel.
Certainly did.
Good, man. Good. 99 outside. 3 wide.
Happens that quickly.
3.
That almost caught up Matt Kenseth, Ambrose, and more.
That was really, really close.
It's almost like the intensity of restarts just ramps up more and more as we get into the race. But how about Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolf in that too? I mean, they were a lap down shortly after the race got started. A lot of strategy, a real gamble. There they are running second.
Jeff Gordon, just a big pass there by the 11 of Brian Vickers, doing the dive bomb on Gordon into turn number 1. Now it's Gordon and the 43 of Eric Almirola. Takes me back to 1992 when Jeff Gordon's very first Cup race in the 24 was also Richard Petty's very last Sprint Cup start in the 43. Last race of the season at Atlanta.
At Atlanta, yeah. Well, that 56 car, Martin Truex being out front, that guy led a lot of this race last year. I mean, we thought he had it in the bag, and then the last stop, the car just didn't come back on the track and run as quick as it did, and Denny Hamlin was able to hold him off to win the race. But that 56 car always runs good here at Kansas.
The driver just seems to be getting better and better. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car, he just drove by Kevin Harvick in that 29. Jr. started 23rd. He's up to the 5th position.
What's changed since the start of the race, Jeff Hammond?
Mike, right now we're down here in turn 1, and the biggest difference, I can feel the sun. The clouds are starting to get a little bit higher. We're starting to get some sun come through the race to hit the racetrack. And in talking to drivers like Brad Keselowski this morning, he really felt like his car would get better if we could get some sun on the racetrack, and the racetrack could get warm enough so these tires would start putting rubber down and start making a bigger groove. So I think we're starting to see this down in turn 1, starting to feel the heat.
And I can't help but think, as we have a battle for 14th between Paul Menard and the 27, Mark Martin and the 55, go back to a year ago. The driver leading this race right now, Martin Truex Jr., when the sun popped out late in the race, they didn't make the right adjustment, and they got beat by Denny Hamlin in the 11.
Matt Yoakum.
Hey, Mike, what a nice recovery by Martin Truex Jr. and his 56 team. Remember earlier they had that pit lane violation. They didn't have the tires back across the center line of the box. They had to come back down pit road. They stayed out. They last pitted on lap 88. And essentially this car loves scuffed tires. Means a set of tires that has a heat cycle through them. They've got clean air and those scuffed tires. They're hoping to get a caution in about 30 laps, so that way they will be closer back on cycle with the other cars. But they got the track position.
And what happens is when you get out of sequence with everyone else, like we saw the 2 car do, like we've seen the 56 car, it changes your game plan, gives you some options that the other guys don't have. You can pit out of sequence, you can do things to the car out of sequence, and then if the cards fall right, you find yourself in a great position.
Matt Kenseth led most of the first 110, all but one of the first 110 laps of this race. But Krista, right now, Kenseth sitting in 4th.
Yeah, but no panic right now in the 20 camp. Obviously, the guys ahead of him on the track are the ones who had stayed out. Matt Kenseth did come on the radio and say his oil temperature is a little bit hot right now, but he's been so good and so specific with what he needs in his race car all race long.
Well, let's tie this together. Michael Waltrip at the end of the pre-race show talked about the temps were really coming down. He even made note of some drivers' teams putting a little more tape on the nose. Think about what Jeff Hammond just reported about the sun starting to come out. That's going to raise the ambient temperature. Maybe a little too much tape right now.
And you don't know if you have too much tape if you're running out front the whole time.
You got it.
But now he's back in a little bit of traffic, getting not quite as good an air, clean air as he was getting. Those temps might creep up a little bit, but doesn't sound like any urgency to me.
Carl Edwards started outside pole, and he also stopped at lap 111. So he is the 3rd car in line. The 2 ahead of him, Truex and Keselowski, did not stop under the 5th caution flag of the day. Johnson and Harvick have been close companions all day. 6th place here. Coming up on halfway on our mid-race report, Martin Truex Jr., who led 173 laps here last year out front. We've had 5 cautions, including this big one.
last year is your leader now. He says, I'm tired of finishing second after Texas. That's what he said. Not a good thing. Time for the AT&T Mid-Race Report. Glad you're watching with us. Kyle Busch, the hot driver, coming in, spun out on lap 104 out of the race. Pole sitter Matt Kenseth has dominated the first half. Kenseth has been the leader halfway in 3 other races this year, but Darrell Waltrip, he did not win any of those.
No, but let me tell you a guy that is just impressing the heck out of me. Yeah, he drives the 2 car. That's Brad Keselowski. But his crew chief, Paul Wolf, last week they were 2 laps down in the race at Texas. Got it back, got the free pass, took the wave around, and they finished 9th. Today they get in trouble. They got problems with the car. Now they're back leading, running second in the race. Paul Wolf, Brad Keselowski. Great combination.
Jimmy Johnson has marched from outside the top 20 to be a contender inside the top 5. Some of the guys up front inherited their track position through pit road. Jimmy Johnson raced his way to the front. I like what I'm seeing out of that 48 car, and I think they will be the guy you have to beat when this race ends up.
Michael Chris talked about Matt Kenseth, led 110 of the first 111 laps. Now, I know he's back in 4th position right now because of some strategy by drivers in front of him, but I think if they'll keep up at the racetrack with changes with 2 to 3 pit stops to go, we can talk about Matt Kenseth getting another win here in 2013. Matt.
Larry Mack in the shade. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car has been on the edge and tight, but the sun has popped out. Now it's back to the loose side. He's climbed to 7th, and basically they've only taken right side tires this entire race. They only expect 1 stop for lefts. Keep an eye on the 88. His best finish here at Kansas, 2nd. Mike.
Race leader Martin Truex led 173 laps here last fall. He's finished second 6 times since his last and only victory in the Sprint Cup Series. Chris, he's starting to look a lot like Harry Gant, Mr. Second Place. He's more overdue than yesterday's train.
And anxious to hold on here. Also, my Kansas native Clint Boyer, currently running 10th. Has been heard over the radio saying how crazy, how edgy the drivers are and how out of control they are. And then he said, just wait till the last few miles over the last 100 laps or so. Halfway, this has been your AT&T Mid-Race Report. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. We're live from the Kansas Speedway.
Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Brad Keselowski up 31 positions to 2nd. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data from Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Here's what Brad had to say to his team before he rolled off the starting grid.
We'll put our game face on and we'll do our best to focus, work our way to the front. Be a lot of strategy today, so let's try to be prepared, and probably going to be a lot of wrecks too. I'll try to be heads up for you. Hopefully we can work our way to the front. See you in Victor Lane after the race.
Well, he's worked his way to the front, but Larry, his stop back at lap 88. And here's Jamie McMurray coming to pit road, who stopped at the same time. Is the hourglass running out of laps for Keselowski?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see Brad Keselowski hit pit road this time. And Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 won't be far behind.
Scheduled stop for Keselowski, who did not pit under the last caution, nor did Mark Martin, who's just been on and off pit road, and the race leader Martin Truex. Krista.
When Keselowski did pit before on the last run, he said, I'm loose, not really loose, but not good. On this run, he said, I just need stability, specifically in corner entry. I need to be more stable. He's also been very cognizant of what lines Jimmy Johnson has been running as well. Matt?
And Martin Truex Jr., the young man who dominated this event last year, and then the cloud cover change on the last run, costing the win. He's making his way to his pit box. The sun continues to peek back out. 4 tires on this stop. They were going to try to stretch it as long as they could. Make sure they top off that Napa Toyota with fuel around to the left side. Wheels on, solid stop. Oh, a little bit of trouble on the left rear. They lose some time there, and he's away.
So now all 4 drivers that stayed out at the last caution have pitted. I got a quizzical look for Darrell, so I'll explain. 2 old codgers sitting in the rockers at the railway station, which doesn't happen much anymore. And one says, look, today's train's on time. And the other says, nope, that's yesterday's train.
Okay, well, now you know why I was scratching my head.
Now, as far as all of our other drivers, including Jimmie Johnson in the 48, remember they were on pit road at lap 111. Probably somewhere between 12 and 14 laps is when you'll start to see these drivers hit pit road for their scheduled green flag stop.
I think Brad Keselowski nailed it in the opening laps here when he told Paul Wolfe, going to be a lot of strategy today, a lot of things we got to keep up with, and boy, we have seen varying strategies across the board.
For more on our series champ, here's Jeff Hammond.
Well, Mike, I got a little funny way to explain about strategy in the two-pit. Everybody knows that Kansas basketball is big here. We just got past the halfway point, and usually at halftime, a coach goes in and he talks about his strategy. Today, Paul Wolfe told me before the start of this race, he had a strategy to get that number 2 car to the front, and they'll have a chance to win. Their strategy got a little messed up because of the problems they experienced early part of the race. They got back on track. That's the reason why they stayed out. They feel like they've already run this race from the back to the front, and that way they have an idea when they need to have 2 tires versus 4 tires. They've already got 4. Look for them to keep playing that strategy to the end and make sure that 2 cars got track position and in the right place so they can go to victory lane. Hey, and don't forget, this race is definitely no layup.
1 for 1. Jimmie Johnson out in front of Matt Kenseth. What a change of fortunes for Johnson, who began this race 21st, slowly, methodically, worked his way up, as has Dale Jr. from 23rd to 5th, and Jeff Gordon, who started the day 43rd and is now up to 14th.
I think regardless of what strategy you're on right now, this is still a 2-stop race, even for the guys that have to make another stop.
Danica Patrick began the day in 25th, currently runs in the top 20. Steve?
And Mike, she's saying her car is consistent at both ends of the racetrack. She also told crew chief Tony Gibson, it's amazing how some cars move over, but nobody wants to move over. For me, specifically, she's upset with David Gilliland in the 38.
Tries to take me home. Tries to take me home every time. He's smarter than I'm coming after him if he does it again. In fact, I might just do it right now.
We'll be fine. Just everybody calm down. We got a good car. We'll pass him back.
You know, Larry, do I recall that similar thing happened here last year with her and, was it David Ruderman? Was that last year?
It did, and it didn't work out too well. But while she was complaining about David Gilliland, we all of a sudden got a battle for the lead with Jimmie Johnson in the 48 and Matt Kenseth in the 20. But back to Danica Patrick, stay focused on the task at hand. You just cracked the top 20. You need runs like this, and you need to continue to run all these laps. Don't worry about David Gilliland, who's back there running in 23rd.
That's good. That's good advice, crew chief.
Yes, sir.
And here comes Matt Kenseth. Jumped down to the track apron. Now he was in at lap 111, so that's 44 laps. Scheduled stop.
That's right there at the beginning of the fuel window, as well as Kevin Harvick in the 29 is in.
Battle for 3rd. Carl Edwards, Casey Kane. Make that now a battle for 2nd. Harvick also on pit road. And Jimmie Johnson may be coming this time. Krista?
Well, this is a little bit early for Matt Kenseth, and the reason is that oil temperature continued to go up. He was up to 310 degrees. They said make sure and get the grill clean. It's really important, Matt.
And Jimmie Johnson brings his Chevrolet down pit road, expecting on this stop to see the 48 team put 4 tires on. They need to get a full load of fuel. Also chassis adjustment, Steve, because he says the handling starting to go away. It's gotten tighter.
In the 5-in, his car has been neutral for much of the day, but he says as the sun hits the track, I've gotten looser. They made a chassis adjustment.
4-tire stop for Paul Menard and for Kurt Busch. David Reagan comes to the pit lane. Marcus Ambrose is in. All scheduled stops under green at lap 157. Jeff Burton and Eric Almirola also to pit road. Kristen.
Marcus Ambrose has had such a smooth race, but they had to come in now because he had no fuel pressure. They thought they possibly ran it out of fuel. Marcus Ambrose coming in. They have been one of the teams that has been 2 tire stops on each change. Matt?
Eric Almirola also brings brings his Ford down pit road for a stop. Todd Parrott and company right now going for a track bar adjustment. You can see the crew member make the change. He's full of fuel, and he's away. The car just had swung to the tight side, Mike.
David Gilliland, Tony Stewart, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Danica Patrick.
Mike, on Kansas oil temperature, 300, 310's no problem. Ideal is 280, so he's not in any danger at all with that oil temperature at this time.
Looks like 4 tires for Montoya. David Stremme also in. And looking for leader Carl Edwards to make his stop. He's been out there now for 48 laps on this run. Sam Hornish is in. As green flag stops continue. And here comes Carl. Slows in turn number 4. Sharp transition right there down to the flat. And on to pit road at 45 miles an hour, Steve.
And Mike, Carl Edwards has said that his car has gone to the loose side, particularly when it gets on the throttle. So they're going to make a chassis adjustment. This time they get 4 tires on that 99 car for Carl Edwards.
His teammate Greg Biffle is in.
So far, pretty clean green flag stops, contrary to what we saw in practice yesterday with drivers getting on this pit road.
I knew yesterday when we were talking about all the problems of getting on pit road, we wouldn't have any issue today. But those guys were trying things yesterday that they wouldn't do today.
Wise, Earnhardt, and Boyer to the pit lane. Steve?
And Clint Boyer to pit road. He says we can, or crew chief Brian Patty says we cannot make it on one more stop. Clint saying the car is still very loose, Matt.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team already servicing that number 88 machine onto the left side. They've gone 4 tires on this stop. Remember, the sun has come out. You can see the chassis adjustment take place. Junior much more free on this run.
Montoya.
He's out of gas.
Flat right front. He had just stopped, Darrell. He just went back out, and he's got trouble as Ricky Stenhouse comes in and Jeff Gordon.
Still running now?
We're hearing that Stenhouse in the 17 was out of fuel.
He's able to maintain pit road speed as Ryan Newman picks up the lead. There's the right front on Montoya's car. Krista.
And as you see, Montoya, possible loose wheel for him, but Ricky Stenhouse, as he was coming to pit road, possibly out of fuel. They ran it dry. You see the crew working on the right side, coming around to the left. Ricky Stenhouse running it out of fuel, getting in just in the nick of time.
Yeah, it wasn't Montoya, it was Stenhouse that was out of fuel. I heard that and I thought it was Montoya.
Newman gives up the lead to pit. Regan Smith is in. So is the 11 for Brian Vickers. Matt.
Code 3 associates on that 39 machine as Vickers is in. Vickers has gone back and forth as far as being tight and loose, but he was especially going into turn 3 on this last run. Meanwhile, going around to the left side of Newman Chevrolet. They were expecting to make a significant wedge adjustment. Newman was just way too tight in the center of the corner.
So pit stops cycle through with Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski back at the top of the pack as Bobby Labonte finishes up his stop along with David Rudiman. 163 laps complete, 104 to go in the STP 400. Pit road entry a little treacherous here in Kansas. Here in Kansas, Martin Truex Jr. just flashed by the stripe as the race leader. Now, if you take the in lap coming into pit road and the out lap back out on the racetrack, Eric Almirola had the best pit road sequence under that round of green flag stops.
And what I love about that involves the pit stop, the driver getting on and off pit road. That involves the entire race team.
Yeah, we saw the 56 have some issues with his stop, and he lost about a second to then Brad Keselowski when they came back on the track.
Matt Kenseth stalking Keselowski for third as they roll off into the corner, and Matt has room on the bottom. The next car in front of them will be Danica Patrick, who made an unscheduled pit stop while we were in break to remove a piece of debris from the radiator inlet. The water temp had gone up to, they said, 300 degrees or so.
Yeah, she had to hit pit road, and she was running about 22nd on the lead lap. Now she's 31st, 2 laps down. So depending on if they filled her with fuel when she hit pit road there, she would be one of the drivers that can make it on one more stop now.
Jimmie Johnson second to Martin Truex by 0.4 of a second.
You remember last fall, Truex made shambles of the field. He ran through them, but the weather changed late in the going, and that put him behind. He couldn't hold off Denny Hamlin. Look what's happening here now. Here comes Jimmie Johnson in a hurry. I think he likes this weather. He likes the track right now. Be interesting to see if the cloud's thicking back up, how this baby plays out.
And Michael, we got a caution, got Brian Vickers in the 11 on the back straightaway. The caution will fly, but definitely the sun is out right now.
Fired up the roller if you can.
Didn't hit anything, I don't think, Larry, and that looked a lot like Kyle Busch. The car just snapped around.
This had been the longest green flag run of the day for Vickers in the FedEx Freight number 11. His sponsor celebrating their 40th anniversary. And here's what happens to Vickers. Kind of like Kyle Busch in practice, same spot and teammate car.
Yeah, very similar. He's
flat right rear at least.
Got some damage too.
Hit it pretty hard. There's more damage on that car than there was in Kyle's in practice, and they put that car away and went to a backup.
Think about this. That's the 3rd JGR car that has spun out.
Coach Gibbs.
81 car with Elliott Sadler, 18, and now the 11.
Coming off a great weekend in Texas. It's tough sledding here.
Now, when the field gets back around, there's going to be 92 laps to go. I think pit road is going to be a busy place, but I think it's going to get very congested. I think it'll a lot of be for fuel only, because now if they pack it full of Sunoco race fuel, I think they can make it on one more stop from here.
Well, that last green flag run, Ryan Newman went 48 laps. Pretty much the most of anybody, I believe.
With a lot of cautions in there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Steve.
And that's exactly what Kenny Francis told Casey Kane in that 5 car. This should be fuel only. They'll make a slight chassis adjustment for Casey Kane. Matt.
Martin Truex Jr. says the sun has come out. His car has gone back to the free side. Look for a track bar adjustment on the 56, Krista.
Brad Keselowski's team will put tires on this car. 2 tires is the call. Remember, Brad Keselowski was back on lap 148. He has made the observation with this sun out, the track is finally taking rubber.
And who's the first off pit road? Jimmie Johnson.
And it appears that they basically went with fuel only.
You've done this a time or two.
Well, it's bit me a couple of times too.
So what'll be the right call? No tires for Jimmie Johnson, 2 tires for Martin Truex, or something else? Laps to go in Kansas. Danica Patrick, Jamie McMurray take the wave around as we get ready to race. And come green this time, Carl Edwards, Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be the front row for the restart. Clint Boyer, Ricky Stenhouse, Greg Biffle, Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, Jimmie Johnson, Martin Truex, and Casey Kane. 25 cars on the lead lap. It was Bobby Labonte who got the free pass.
I'm a little confused. The top 7 drivers stayed out. I know they have to make 2 more pit stops, where everyone that pitted, I feel confident that they can do it on 1 stop. I just think I would have taken advantage and come to pit road and filled that thing up with Sunoco race fuel.
A lot of different strategies in play. As the Toyota pace car is on pit road, here we come to the green flag, and Carl Edwards continues to lead laps for Roush Fenway Racing. He'll get a challenge from Dale Earnhardt Jr. in turn 1.
Stenhouse, 17, fighting his way to the outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And here comes Boyer in the 15.
4 wide behind them.
Yeah, Stenhouse had been kind of asleep there for a while. I hadn't talked about him much, but here he is. Oh, a car way up the hill.
That's Hornish.
That was Hornish, yeah. He got pushed up out of the groove.
Easy to happen here. Look at this cluster. 3 wide at the line. Burton, Keselowski, Kurt Busch. Watching from Kevin Harvick as it all unfolds, and that's just a big knot of cars right there. Out front, Edwards and his teammate Stenhouse, then Bowyer.
Looks like Stenhouse in the 17 really gets off the corner better than Carl Edwards in the 99 right now.
Yeah, he's after it right now. He's up there wanting to get the lead back, or get in the lead. He hadn't had it all day. Look at that nice high. Larry, look at him. He's got that momentum on the outside. Yikes.
Oh, Carl about shut him down.
The door on him.
And that's going to open the door for Bowyer in the 15. He's going to take second away.
I don't know. I wouldn't count Stenhouse out. I might have driven it a little too hard, but he's got that high line working.
Now, Stenhouse just wanted to lead 1 lap. That would get him a bonus point. And every point matters in the new Sprint Cup point system. But Darrell, remember back to qualifying day when Stenhouse made his run and didn't want to tell Carl what he had done? Were they joking about it or not?
Well, Carl, oh, trouble on the back, guys. The 9's around, and
Hornish is in it. Yeah, hard hit by Sam Hornish, and he gets hit again by Casey Mears. 7th caution flag. Ambrose involved.
That's 2 weeks in a row that Marcus Ambrose has had a good run going and got caught up in a wreck.
Well, that thing there is hurt too. So to fix that, I don't think the 13's got a lot of right front damage. I'm not sure about him.
At least 3 cars involved, all Fords. Watch Ambrose in the 9, then Hornish in the 12. That's Josh Wise in between them. Oh, it's the 9.
And it's off turn 2. It's like every now and then a car off of that corner will just step out and spin around. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it in practice, and now we see it here in the race again.
Looked like David Gilliland might have got into the back of one car there, riding with Danica. That's Timmy Hill.
Stay high, all the way to the top, all the way to the top. All good, all good. Caution's out.
And let's ride with Casey Mears.
In front of you. Okay, we'll get in, boys. Sliding here. Probably got some flat spots for sure. I don't know if it made contact with the wall or not.
Regan Smith will get the free pass. Here's one more look at it as Ambrose gets loose up off the corner, collects Hornish, and then Casey Mears has nowhere to go. Caution's out for the 7th time in Kansas.
Three laps to go. Carl Edwards, your leader. Time for the AT&T Race Break, brought to you by the nation's largest 4G LTE network. Well, Matt Kenseth, the pole sitter, dominated the first half of this race, leading for 111 laps. The hot driver coming in was Kyle Busch, but early spun out, creating a wreck that involved Joey Logano. And the 2 car, Brad Keselowski, with some pit problems, and working with crew chief Paul Wolf as they appeal their fine and suspensions from last week's race in Texas. And here is the Kyle Busch.
Yeah, he slides up the hill, and Joey Logano anticipates Kyle to stay up high. He doesn't, and man, heavy contact between those 2 cars. Look at all that energy being absorbed by those cars.
That was on lap 104 that took those 2 out. And then moments ago, it's Ambrose, Hornish, Jr., and Mears.
Yeah, Ambrose got loose off turn 2. Nowhere for these cats to go. In fact, Mears got hit from behind and went spinning into the wreck. And look at that destruction to that car.
Let's check in with Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, I just caught up here with, just tell me right quick. That looked like I hurt.
I did. I bit the inside of my lip, and I broke the tack off with my knees, so we'll look at how we put some of that stuff in there, but just nowhere to go. Got to run and got around the 13, and 9 was right there sideways in front of me coming off the corner. Just want to thank SKF and Penske Racing and Ford for bringing us out here this week, and obviously want a little bit better than this.
Sam Hornish right there, a little bit sore after that there, Chris.
I don't know who's more out of breath, Jeff Hammond or Sam Hornish Jr., but let's talk about the strategy over these final 82 laps. Rather straightforward.
I think so, Chris. You're going to run until you can make it all the way on fuel, and then you're going to get gas, and I don't think you come back to pit road. We haven't seen these tires fall off that much today, and so therefore I think once you can make it to the end, you'll pit, and that's the bed you will lie in.
And speaking of lying or owning up to your mistakes, Dale Earnhardt Jr. last week said, hey, when we went to the reserve battery, my mistake on the switch. He's worked his way up to third behind Clint Bowyer and Carl Edwards. A chance for him to get to victory lane.
A total chance. And you remember at Texas, he was strong running in the top 5 when that battery went away. So now he's surfaced in the 3rd spot, fast car. I like seeing this week in and week out of Dale Jr., Chris. He's always near the front battling for the lead.
And how about Carl Edwards?
I think he's going to be strong over these last few laps. I think it's going to be so fun to see how it develops. We get to pit road, make that final adjustment. We've seen a lot of improvement out of the Hendricks cars. Jimmy Johnson racing for the win. And I'm going to have to upgrade Jeff Gordon from dog meat to baby hamburger now.
You were referring in the pre-race show where you said his car was dog meat.
Yeah, he wasn't running good.
And Darrell called you out on it, and now he's slowly increasing the value. In 2 weeks, we're going to be heading to Talladega for the Aaron's 499. Michael will be running in that. We hope you join us at a Sunday ticket your pass to the infield for a special Saturday night concert with Chris Young and all of the side-by-side racing at amazing speeds. The tickets start at $55 and free on-site camping. Call 877-GO-TO-DEGA. 877-GO-TO-DEGA. Be a part of Dega Nation. It's a hot ticket no matter who's out in front. Let's go back upstairs.
Thanks, Chris. 80 to go when they come to the stripe, and the pace car is going to make that sharp left turn. It'll be Carl Edwards and Clint Bowyer, Ford and Toyota leading them down for the restart. Earnhardt Chevrolet, Stenhouse's Ford, and Ryan Newman Chevy are the fast 5. Here they come, and Bowyer on the shift got a little out of shape. Here comes Newman trying to capitalize on the apron.
Yep, Clint Bowyer in the 15 really spun the tires, and actually Newman in the 39, he's going to make that work pretty good diving down there on the apron.
Good thing that Stenhouse and
Bowyer.
Wow, good thing that Stenhouse and Edwards are teammates, because Carl is not cutting any cutting Stenhouse any slack. And by the way, Mikey, he's not dog meat anymore. That dog will hunt now.
I tell you, another dog that will hunt is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88, 3 wide on the apron. Now he's up there battling Newman for the 5th spot down the back straightaway.
Like, what were we saying in practice about the Hendrick cars? They all were, you know, outside the top 20, and what was wrong with them, and look where they are now.
Yeah, in fact, we've got 3 in the top 10, and Jeff Gordon's 15th right now.
Well, Casey Kane passes Jimmy Johnson, taking Clint Bowyer with him.
I tell you, a guy that's wheeling his car like I don't think I've seen him wheel in a while. Maybe it's because we're in Kansas. Jamie McMurray is giving that one car a ride today.
He is running like a man that owes money.
Got
Watch him come off turn 4 here.
It's got a 90-day note due. Here's
McMurray, Bowyer, Edwards. They all want to win at their home track, and look at this for the lead.
Yes, sir. And Matt Kenseth said, while you boys are playing around, I'll just, whoa, wait a minute, hold the phone.
Yeah, Stenhouse net 17. He's not ready to give it up.
He said in pre-race, I like the tracks where you use a lot of throttle. Oh, this is one of them for sure.
Matt Kenseth chasing that number that he won 24 races in, not to mention that 2003 Sprint Cup Series championship, the 17 number.
That's probably, that car is the same sponsor, same number as Matt drove here last year to victory.
Think about Roush Fenway in those Fords, and then Matt Kenseth on his own. Hey, Richmond, next Saturday night, you won't want to miss that short track shootout.
Oh, these cars, they're going to be awesome on Richmond racetrack.
Yes, they are. Roush Fenway this year, counting this lap, has led 194 laps. That's the entire Roush Fenway team, Stenhouse, Biffle, and Edwards. However, Matt Kenseth on his own has led 430 laps this year.
Stenhouse is making me a little bit nervous. He's riding up really high, right up against that edge of where that grip is. It's paying off for him, but boy, if he steps over the line, he'll be in trouble.
But Daryl, he has definitely found something up there, especially in 3 and 4, because Matt Kenseth in the 20 is not able to close the gap now. If anything, Stenhouse may be pulling away a little bit.
Jack Roush, who owns that number 17 and the 99 and the 16. Oh, contact.
Oh, you should have.
And Danica.
You should have seen that. The 9 got under Danica coming out of turn 4, got loose and got into the side of Danica, and she's got damage now.
Yep.
Yeah, Ambrose in the 9 is still on the lead lap.
Everything okay?
I think she had intentions here of letting him know she didn't like that.
Well, and that's the other driver she was unhappy with earlier in the race, right behind her, David Gilliland in that 38.
Yeah, she's got that fender rub.
Hope Ambrose got a getaway plan right here.
I think I'd be a little worried about that tire rub. That left rear is not going to take that very long. That tire's already cambered out there on the top on the left side. It starts rubbing on that fender. It could be trouble.
Yeah, Daryl, she's going to have to get the pit road here, I mean, real quick, or she will be the next caution.
Yeah, her spotter needs to give her a heads up and get her on pit road.
And there's David Gilliland right alongside. She had an altercation with Gilliland earlier in the race. You don't make any friends out here. Dale Jr. passes Carl Edwards for 4th. Oh, Gilliland up the hill. And almost contact there. Good.
Boy, there's something going on back in here with these guys and gals.
Well, David Gilliland, he is the last driver on the lead lap. Danica Patrick right now 1 lap down.
Keselowski. Look at the left rear on his car. Now, is that or is, you know, the tire looks up. Does that look like a result of the damage from the lap 1 collision that bent up the rear end on that car?
For sure, and of course they've been working on the fueling issue because of the damage to that left rear quarter panel. They're going to have some bigger issues now.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get fuel in that car, it doesn't look like.
Oh, yeah, that.
Marcus was underneath the Danica coming off the corner. He's got damage from that spin on the back there a little bit ago. And then Marcus' car just got loose and got into Danica.
Yeah, I don't see intent there, Darrell.
Nah, he's just trying to get by.
But Darrell, we've seen that all weekend long with the speeds that this racetrack has in it. We even saw it in the truck race yesterday where it almost just sucks you around when you're the driver on the bottom.
So fast, Larry. Speed.
So Danica Patrick right now wanting to see a caution, not wanting to be the caution. 69 laps to go. Three laps to go. Here's your STP race summary. Rookie Ricky Stenhouse is leading this race, the first of 24 lead lap cars. 8 leaders, 12 lead changes, 7 caution flags for 34 laps. Matt Kenseth, the pole sitter, and Martin Truex, between them, have led more than half of this race. But one of those Roush Fenway Fords out front, John Henry, owner of the Boston Red Sox, co-owner with longtime racer and team owner Jack Roush of the 17, 99, and 16. Edwards 5th place under fire from Jimmy Johnson, but Jack Roush has pledged $100 to onefundboston.org for every lap his cars lead today, and so far that is 36 of them.
Well, Larry, you know, one thing, the sun is pretty bright right now. This is as nice and clear, and the sun is sunny as I've seen it all day. That has changed their track a little bit, and it looks like it really has played right into the hands of Ricky Stenhouse, who is continuing to lay down some blistering laps.
Well, we have 61 laps to go. We just completed lap 206, and when I look at Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, remember they've not been to pit road since lap 160 to 162. They're going to have to go at least 10 to 12 more laps to be able to make this race on that one more stop. And remember, Stenhouse Jr. ran out of fuel the last time he was making a green flag stop.
Teammates Jeff Burton, Paul Menard at Richard Childress Racing, battling for 14th and moving right past where Jeff Hammond's stationed. Where's Hammond?
DW, I'm down here in the middle of 3 and 4 on top of one of the fans' buses. Nice enough to let us come up here. But the one thing I've been noticing from our vantage point, and you've been talking about track temperature is warming up. I checked it a moment ago, 88 degrees. It's a lot warmer than what it was at the start by about 15 degrees. But the main thing, you talk about Ricky Stenhouse, he likes that high line. And the reason why, guys, he's out of the gas. He's carrying a lot of corner speed without having to be on the gas. He's coming in here hard, letting it roll through the center. I hear him pick the gas up just past his bus and exit off the turn 4. So he saves the fuel. I think not really leaning on these tires very high. And like I said before, I think he's really finding a lot of grip up there at the edge of the cushion. You got to be careful not to step over it, but I think he's finding grip that's really helping that 17 car.
For more on the 17, Krista.
Well, they had a special feeling about this racetrack coming into this race, and it showed with their qualifying efforts starting third. You mentioned that Matt Kenseth used to drive this car. Not only does Ricky Stenhouse have Matt's old number, he has his old spotter. Mike Kalanoff calling the shots from the top of the spotter stand. He's the veteran of this team because Scott Graves, the crew chief with Ricky Stenhouse, also a rookie.
Yeah, how about that? Well, Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle, who are Stenhouse's teammates, they are most at risk of running out. Lap 160 when they were on pit road. Stenhouse 162.
See, I think the secret for Stenhouse, tell him to save me fuel. He'll back off and go faster.
There are your top 5 with Stenhouse and Earnhardt most at risk on fuel. But have begun, Steve.
And Carl Edwards' car has gone really tight, Mike, since the sun came out. And it looks like they're having a little slow stop, but they've gotten really tight since this bright sun is now bathing the track.
Greg Biffle has already been in and out for what he hopes is the last stop of the day. And race leader Ricky Stenhouse has given up the front spot to Matt Kenseth to come down and make his appearance on pit road. Last in around lap 162. Krista.
The crew chief wanted Ricky to go one more lap, and he got nervous about that fuel issue they had last time running low. He said, the light came on, I'm coming now. The demand to the driver, let's do it. The crew working, it's a 4-tire change for Ricky Stenhouse, the rookie.
So the other drivers that will need fuel, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who hits pit road now, Ryan Newman, Clint Boyer, and Jeff Gordon. Here comes Gordon along with his teammate Earnhardt to the pit lane. Matt?
Mike, others hitting pit road as Junior stops deep in his box. The crew members, Caleb Hurd, he had to run a few steps to insert that can of fuel. Now Junior pitted about 5 laps earlier.
Matt, we have a caution. The piece of metal debris from Brad Keselowski's car finally flew off. It hit the Kench fence and came to rest on the asphalt at the exit of turn number 4, just opposite the entrance to pit road. There you see it. The taillight panel. Remember, this all stems from the initial start of the race. And there it goes.
That's been hanging there for quite some time. I'm sure NASCAR thought it was going to probably stay on the car, but it eventually just ripped it off.
So the cars that already pitted, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ricky Stenhouse, Carl Edwards, and Greg Biffle, go a lap down. If everyone else pits, they could stay out and get the wave around on this caution, but only if everybody else on the lead lap pits.
But
right?
my question, yeah, everyone has to pit, and I think they will if you've not been to pit road. But I think with those guys, unless they feel like the cautions will get them there, they were going to have to run 51+ laps to get to the end. They're in a little bit of a box right here. They have to take the wave around, though, I think, to get back on the lead lap.
Right, Larry, because if they pit, then they're stuck a lap down.
First things first. Got to get back on the lead lap.
On the lead lap.
That's the first thing. Then we'll figure the rest of it out from there.
Now, Stenhouse won't have that worry because he is the first car 1 lap down. He gets the free pass.
Well, it's a no-brainer for him. Come back to pit road and top that thing off. Pack it with Sunoco race fuel.
That's right, because his crew chief had him pit a lap early than he really wanted to because they ran out of fuel earlier. So this is a bit of an insurance policy for them.
I don't think we'll see a lot of time wasted, though, with 4-tire stops. I just think track position is so important, and I think this will probably be the last time that we see tires changed in this race.
Well, the guys under green were taking 4. Of course, they had to because they had needed to put 2 cans of fuel in. So now, you know, so many things to consider here.
Starting tomorrow on National Geographic, a new series called Brain Games. That'll put your brain to the test. A roller coaster for your mind with challenges and games. Premiering tomorrow on the National Geographic Channel. The brain games that are going on right now are up and down pit road.
Oh,
what do you do?
They're smoking down there right now because this is a critical point in this race. What do we do now, and how's it going to set us up?
But this should put everybody where they can make it to the end. You just think back to Texas last week. Big part of that race was won on pit road at the end.
Larry, we just saw a close shot of Brad Keselowski's car, and the question will be, will they be able to fuel that car?
The good news is they're able to do it here under caution. They didn't have to do it under green like we were headed to.
So let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Matt Kenseth has the fastest lap of the race, set back on lap 10. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app, and no metering, no throttling, no overages, all while on the Sprint network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Sprint is based here in the Kansas City area, and they have been a great partner for NASCAR with the Sprint Cup Series. And our thanks to Tim Considine and his folks for a nice evening Friday night that we enjoyed with them, and talked about planning for the Sprint All-Star race coming up in Charlotte in May, and next year's Sprint Unlimited at Daytona.
You know who hated to see that caution, I think, was Ryan Newman and Clint Bowyer, because I think they were in a position where they were going to make their green flag pit stops and they were going to be able to make it to the end. But right now, I think they're in a position running this slow speed on the racetrack. They need pit road to be open because they have to be getting very close to being out of fuel.
Looks like they're open this time by, Larry. That's what I'm hearing.
But I do believe that Bowyer and Newman were in a position where they could have made it to the end by making that green flag stop.
And well, we know Boyer's great at milking, getting good gas mileage. Won a couple of races last year that way.
Lead lap cars on the inside lane, and here they come. Steve.
And Mike, we know Casey Kane is going to take right sides only in a small chassis adjustment for him. Let's go to Matt.
And Jimmy Johnson's been the tightest he has been all day on exit. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick, he doesn't want to give up the track position, but they're going to go 4 tires because his car's been the best all day on 4. Krista?
Matt Kenseth said he's loose into 3, and if you're not leading, you cannot be too loose. So, boys, let's make sure we're leading when this is all said and done. Right side tires only for Matt Kenseth.
He spins the tires getting out of his pit, and it's close.
I think he made it.
At the line between he and Martin Truex, who jumps 5 positions. Here's the race off pit road. Wasn't quite that close, was it?
It looked it from here.
Matt Kenseth, your leader.
April is a month nationally associated with environmental awareness, and NASCAR has launched NASCAR Race to Green. It's a way for fans to help support the environment, including the ability to donate trees across the country and in a number of areas recently devastated by natural disasters. NASCAR fans can visit www.nascar.com/green to learn more or make a donation. Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, 44 laps to go. Martin Truex Jr. pit stop, came in 7th, came out 2nd. We heard his crew chief already saying save fuel.
Yeah, what we thought would be a pretty straightforward finish to a NASCAR race, that never happens. There's always things that throw you a curve. This caution flag in the middle of these green flag stops is a curveball for a guy like Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Carl Edwards. They were running at the front. Now they're going to restart in the back. Dale Jr. asked his crew chief on the radio, what am I doing back here? He said, this one hurt. That was a bad timely caution.
And Mike, Matt Kenseth has 1 career win from the pole. He started there today and has dominated back on top. Just at 44 to go.
Well, Chris, it was 1985 when Bill Elliott won at Michigan, Dale Earnhardt at Bristol, and then Elliott at Darlington. 1985, the last time we've had 3 straight winners come from the pole position. This would be the 3rd of 3 today if Kenseth can pull it off.
Well, this will be interesting to see with Kenseth and Truex up there. Truex seems to have trouble with his car always right at the end of the race. Last week a shock, and then last year here the thing tightened up on him. We'll see how it goes today.
Kenseth on the throttle. He's got half a car length on Kasey Kahne. Make that a full car length as they cross the line under green.
And they're already on the apron 3 and 4 wide behind this group.
Kenseth yards, Truex. Kahne is third. Johnson fourth. Bowyer fifth. Almirola comes out of the pack for sixth. Jamie McMurray up high, trying to gain some ground. Mark Martin down low.
Larry, I just believe that Kenseth's car, when he was out front earlier today, nobody could catch him, and he looks like he's going to set sail.
Yeah, he wasn't quite as good in traffic, but where he's at right now is where he's been a big portion of this race, especially in early going, led 110 of the first 111 laps.
Matt only runs about 95% most of the race until he comes down the end, and then he goes to 100.
42 laps to go. You know what we haven't done today?
Oh, yeah.
A NASCAR on Fox Sunday. Crank it up. Down to the inside is Stenhouse trying to battle with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Instead gives up a spot to Jr. and almost to Jeff Gordon.
Now Stenhouse is having trouble getting around Jr. He had a pass made on him, but Jr. came back on the outside. That opened the door for Jeff Gordon, but they've singled it out and back to it.
Well, that's 3 drivers that stayed out and took the wave around, get back on the lead lap, back there battling for 17th position.
For 10th place, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman.
You know, I can't say enough about Paul Wolfe, Brad Keselowski, and this 2 team battling back to a top 10 last week after all the pre-race inspection issues. And here they have battled all day long and sitting here inside the top 10 now.
Yeah, I tell you, right behind these 2 guys are another guy that I'm just amazed with as well, and that's the 78 car of Kurt Busch. He has gotten himself up here. He's running right behind Newman in 11th.
Darrell, this is pretty wild right here.
No, it is. I've been watching.
Dale Jr. about lost the handle in turn number 3. Keselowski got under him. Almost they touched there. Almost. But look at who, Stenhouse, excuse me, look at, they have brought Tony Stewart right up into that battle. Here comes Jeff Burton as well. I read Carl Edwards right there in the 99.
Yeah, Junior was holding up to 17 just a little bit, and I didn't know if that was going to turn out pretty for either one of them, but Stenhouse has now cleared him and moving away. Well,
all these drivers know a long way to go and a short time to get there with 36 laps to go.
I'm in a hurry, and I do know why.
Earnhardt Gordon side by side, and neither can clear. Speaking of side by side, that's what we're going to do with 36 laps to go in the STP 400. Jimmy Johnson battles Martin Truex for 3rd place. They're 2.5 seconds behind race leader Matt Kenseth, with Kasey Kahne in 2nd. The fight is for 3rd.
Kasey Kahne, I'm telling you, Larry, he's nibbling away at this bit of a lead that Matt Kenseth had. That 5 car all of a sudden looks pretty racy, pretty strong here at the end of the day.
Yeah, that time Matt Kenseth was a 10th quicker, but the 2 or 3 laps prior to that, Kasey Kahne actually gained about a 10th a lap on Matt Kenseth in the 20.
48 gets under a Truex 56 off of 2 there, was able to make the pass.
That was Truex, who led 173 laps in this race last year. Finished 2nd in both Kansas races in 2012. Clint Bowyer in fifth. He's 5 seconds back of the lead. He's been as high as second, hasn't led today. And the hometown favorites. Edwards has had a shot at the front spot, and both Boyer and McMurray trying to challenge in the late stages. Eric Almirola has done a great job wearing the King's coat. We say that STP red and Petty blue paint job that was so iconic with his car owner, Richard Petty, when he drove the 43. Mark Martin's had an up and down day, multiple issues, but rebounded for 8.
Yeah, Mark's just had trouble on restarts. Once he got squared away and got spread out a little bit, he was fine, but restarts were hurting him.
All right, Casey Mears has been called to pit road by NASCAR for not running up to minimum speed.
You know, the one driver we just showed, I don't think we can give him enough credit as you see Casey Mears headed to the garage area, and that's Paul Menard, that 27 car. Sitting there in the 9th position right now, 10th in the points. He's completed every single lap of competition, but right now, he truly has his hands full of Brad Keselowski in that too.
Menard had a great run here last fall. First race on the new surface, got a top 5.
In fact, Brad got the better of him there. Got off at 2 a little better, got under. Menard was able to make the pass. Brad's got a pretty good race car, even with all the damage to the left rear of it.
We do get a feeling that possibly the appeal committee from NASCAR, they will listen to the appeal from Penske Racing of the 2 car and the 22 car of Joey Logano this week. So a lot of the future of employees and points and fines will be determined possibly this week before we head to Richmond for a little Saturday night short track racing.
11th place. Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, they've been battling a good part of the day together. They're 11 seconds behind Matt Kenseth. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Kevin Harvick's 29 has taken a turn for the worse. The car absolutely has gone to the loose side. Harvick very descriptive about what he's experiencing with this whole 29er.
Yeah, and Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman, 2 drivers that elected to change 4 tires on that last stop back at lap 221, but it doesn't appear that likes the 4 tires.
Juan Montoya, who had a flat earlier in an unscheduled stop, comes back to pit road unexpectedly. Ricky Stenhouse has led 26 laps today. That's $2,600 for one fun to Boston from car owner Jack Roush. Matt Kenseth, your leader. 20 to go coming up.
Prior to that, Casey Kane actually gained about a 10th a lap on Matt Kenseth in the 20.
48 gets under a Truex 56 off of 2 there, was able to make the pass.
That was Truex, who led 173 laps in this race last year, finished second in both Kansas races in 2012. Clint Boyer in 5th. He's 5 seconds back of the lead. He's been as high as second, hasn't led today. And the hometown favorites. Edwards has had a shot at the front spot, and both Boyer and McMurray trying to challenge in the late stages. Eric Almirola has done a great job wearing the King's coat. We say that STP red and Petty blue paint job that was so iconic with his car owner, Richard Petty, when he drove the 43. Mark Martin's had an up and down day, multiple issues, but rebounded for 8.
Yeah, Mark's just had trouble on restarts. Once he got squared away and got spread out a little bit, he was fine, but restarts were hurting him.
All right, Casey Mears has been called to pit road by NASCAR for not running up to minimum speed.
You know, the one driver we just showed, I don't think we can give him enough credit as you see Casey Mears headed to the garage area, and that's Paul Menard, that 27 car. Sitting there in the 9th position right now, 10th in the points. He's completed every single lap of competition, but right now, he truly has his hands full of Brad Keselowski in that too.
Menard had a great run here last fall. First race on the new surface, got a top 5.
In fact, Brad got the better of him there. Got off at 2 a little better, got under. Menard was able to make the pass. Brad's got a pretty good race car, even with all the damage to the left rear of it.
We do get a feeling that possibly the appeal committee from NASCAR, they will listen to the appeal from Penske Racing of the 2-car and the 22 car of Joey Logano this week. So a lot of the future of employees and points and fines will be determined possibly this week before we head to Richmond for a little Saturday night short track racing.
11th place, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman. They've been battling a good part of the day together. They're 11 seconds behind Matt Kenseth. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Kevin Harvick's 29 has taken a turn for the worse. The car absolutely has gone to the loose side. Harvick very descriptive about what he's experiencing with this whole 29er.
Yeah, and Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman, 2 drivers that elected to change 4 tires on that last stop back at lap 221, but it doesn't appear that likes the 4 tires.
Juan Montoya, who had a flat earlier in an unscheduled stop, comes back to pit road unexpectedly. Ricky Stenhouse has led 26 laps today. That's $2,600 for one fun to Boston from car owner Jack Roush. Matt Kenseth, your leader. 20 to go coming up. Kasey Kahne, Toyota versus Chevrolet. Then it's Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex, Clint Bowyer. The top 5 with Jamie McMurray and Eric Almirola, the first Ford in the running order in 7th. Kahne has been trying to close, but gaining hundredths a lap, if anything, on Matt Kenseth's lead. As he crosses the line, it's time for our sprint. 20 to go. 8 cautions for 40 laps. That's way less than last fall when they had 14 on the new surface. 8 leaders and 13 lead changes. Matt Kenseth has led more than half the race by himself in his Joe Gibbs Toyota. Kasey Kahne closing. You can see on the graph he came from 27th up to 2nd place. And waiting in the wings 5-time. That would be Jimmy Johnson, who's 3.4 seconds off the lead. Johnson began the day in 21st. That's our sprint. 20 to go. Right behind them, Truex and Bowyer.
Mike, I've seen this act before. I think it was Las Vegas. Matt Kenseth, it looks to me like he's minding the gap. He's a little bit better in 1 and 2 than the 5 car Kahne is. Kahne's a little better in 3 and 4, kind of nip and tuck. But I just think Matt's kind of got an eye on his rearview mirror, keeping the 5 car at bay.
Well, Darrell, it's a little like Las Vegas, where Kasey Kahne dominated that race, leading 114 laps, but he finished 2nd to Matt Kenseth.
That's the race I was thinking of.
You know, when you look at Kasey Kahne, 2013 started a lot like 2012. After Phoenix, he was 33rd in the points. He has followed that up, depending on what he does here today, but the last 5 races, he has had all top 11 finishes.
Krista, with all Brad Keselowski has been through today, he is still moving forward. He just passed Mark Martin for 8th.
It really is incredible. Talk about the heart of a champion and running out there with, as you can see, a tore up race car. He did come on the radio a few laps ago and say, I feel like something broke. The splitter is also dragging all over the racetrack. He's trying to just hang on for 16 more laps.
Well, when you spend Tuesday being congratulated for your championship by the President of the United States and park your race car in the White House driveway, that'll give you a head of steam coming to Kansas, won't it?
Yeah, you know, one thing I said in the pre-race show, I thought the penalties were excessive. I was looking more to people, but then I have to take this into consideration. I'm talking about 2 teams. So it does look like a lot of people, but it's team members off of two different teams.
While Matt Kenseth leads this race, his Joe Gibbs teammates have not fared well. Brian Vickers, who's driving Denny Hamlin's number 11, has just been posted for failure to keep minimum speed. They're going to bring the 11 in. Kyle Busch spun and crashed into the turn 4 wall at lap 87 and is headed home. Elliott Sadler started a 4th Joe Gibbs car. First appearance for Sadler in the Cup Series this year. He's a regular in Nationwide this season for Joe Gibbs, and that car also crashed back at lap 87.
That's why you want to have multiple cars.
He's going to be on the bottom.
All I know is the gap is closing between Matt Kenseth in the 20, Kasey Kahne in the 5, and you can hear Matt Kenseth's voice go up an octave just like Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I think some of that's traffic, though, Larry. Matt's caught a couple of cars here that he's had to deal with, and it has allowed Kahne to close the gap a little bit. We'll see how it works out here, but you hear Matt asking that spotter, you got to start talking to me.
2 laps ago, Kahne made up 0.3 of a second. This last lap, Kenseth was 1/10 quicker, but the gap diminishes.
Yeah, it's just like Vegas. I mean, it's deja vu all over again. Matt's a little bit better in 1 and 2. Kasey's a little bit better in 3 and 4. They just kind of trade it backwards and forth, about a 10th.
Yeah, Kasey Kahne gets in better getting into turn 3 than Matt Kenseth, which tells me possibly overdriving the corner. Kenseth gets off better.
Yeah, I think what it is the 5 car of Kahne is running a higher line, just a teeny bit higher. That gives him a nice run down the back.
There are the speeds, 12 laps to go. And a little more speed for Kahne at the end of the back straightaway. 1 more mile per hour, but over the space of 12 laps, that can make a difference.
And Matt Kenseth, he's going to catch several drivers that'll be battling him to just try to stay on the lead lap or try to stay in the position they're in. So he's going to catch some lap traffic.
Yeah, and see, I don't think it hurts Kasey. He doesn't mind running the high line. I just don't think that Matt likes running that high line. He loses a little time when he gets up there, where Kasey gains time.
Lapping David Gilliland, who's done quite a job of staying on the lead lap all day until these final 10 circuits.
Boy, there you can just see Kasey Kahne in that 5 car sails that thing off into the corner and closes that gap.
10 to go.
Matt gets off of 2 a little bit better than Kasey to kind of maintain. Maybe Matt pulls him a little down the back, but then watch Kahne go into turn 3. This is where he really picks it up. I think Matt gets clear of some of this traffic. That's slowed him down a couple of times and allowed Kasey to get
That would be great.
Whoa, that's.
Yeah, you can see right there, gained about 20 or 25 feet getting off into the one to the middle.
Darrell, the lead car has to bust his way through traffic. The second place car, when he's that close, kind of has a free ride with the lapped car.
Yeah, he gets the advantage of the car knowing that the leaders are coming and that Matt has gone by, and they know Kasey's right behind him, so they kind of give him a break.
8 to go. 40 laps since the last caution flag, and they are this close for the win in Kansas.
Once again, Matt just seems to get off of 2 a little bit better than Kasey. Kasey's a little tight there. Then he really pours it down into turn 3, closes back in a little bit.
Yeah, Matt actually went up the racetrack a little bit that time. It looked like right in the middle of 3 and 4.
Now Jimmie Johnson is running the same lap times as these two, but he is 3.5 seconds back. Truex 6 seconds back, and Bowyer 8.5.
Kahne is there right now. Off on the back straightaway, but he lost ground right there, late exit.
Can't get off of 2. He gets off of 3rd and 4 here better than Matt, but Matt's better off of 2.
Boy, did he drive it down in there, and he made it stick, Darrell, about 2 car lengths back, but Danica Patrick's going to get in the middle of him.
That's all right. Kahne could sweep all the way up the racetrack, use all the racetrack behind Patrick. Didn't seem to affect him that much, as now he goes to the bottom and chases the leader with 6 laps to go.
They watch that 20 car come off 2, and that gap opens way up. And now get down here to 3. Here comes Kasey again, hard into 3.
What Kahne needs is for Kenseth to catch lap traffic exiting 2.
That would be very helpful to Kasey, yes.
Yeah, he did not make any ground whatsoever in 3 and 4 that time, as we've now got 5 laps to go. In fact, he's lost a little ground.
You see the lead as both a time and a distance. One of our Fox Tracks is in with those speeds.
Matt Kenseth says, "Oh heck, I've done this before. I got this one." I wouldn't count it in the bag just yet, but he knows what he's got to do.
Yeah, Casey Kane is trying his heart out getting off in the 3 and 4, but now he keeps paying that price on the exit.
Yeah, he's just kind of overdriving it, trying to catch up. You go where you know, if that's where you can go fast.
4 laps to go. The next lap car they will catch will be Regan Smith, who is 22nd, last car on the lead lap.
Matt opened up a big gap that last time by, Larry. Got him a pretty good distance that time.
Now he catches Smith at the entrance of 3, and Regan moves up, gives him a lane.
But you're right, Daryl. Casey Kane is trying everything possible right now. He's tried every groove on the racetrack.
Guarantee he's about ready to bite that steering wheel in two. He's so close. When you're that close and you just try as hard as you can.
J.J. Yaley goes to the garage just 3 laps from the finish. Earlier they had replaced a transmission in his car.
Now Tony Stewart in the 14 is the next driver out there. I don't think with coming to 2 to go that they'll catch that group. So they'll pretty much just have to fight it out on their own. Casey actually made a pretty decent gain that time through 3 and 4.
That's his end of the track, 3 and 4. We'll see how Matt does off of 2 again. That seems to really be where it pays off. And this is the same thing that happened at Vegas. Exactly. Kane got a good run up off high side that time. He's going to get a lot of straightaway speed here. He's there this time.
Brian Vickers down and out of the way. They may catch the next car before this one's over. Kane has the bottom, sweeps up out of turn number 4.
White flag in the air. One more lap.
It is not over yet, though, boys.
McMurray may not be a factor. He's probably far enough ahead as they roll turn number 2.
Okay, Larry, what happened that time is Matt moved up the hill, got a nice run off of turn 2, opened up the distance between he and Kane. I think he can hold him off from here.
That's Tony Stewart, who pulls down to the inside, out of the way, not wanting to affect the outcome of this one. Kane coming on the bottom, sweeps up high. He's got a chance to dive down low, but Matt Kenseth becomes the 3rd straight driver to win a Sprint Cup race from the pole.
That's a lot of work.
Well,
Dang, man. Thanks, guys. I just can't tell you guys how unbelievably proud I am to drive for you guys. Thank you very, very much. I thought I was going to lose that one. Tear it up, boys. Let's just keep getting them, man. Keep getting them. Great job on pit road.
He's the only driver to win on this new surface with this new configuration. One here in the fall, driving for Roush Fenway.
Casey Kane came within 0.15 of a second, beating Matt Kenseth today. Jimmy Johnson 3rd, Martin Truex, Clint Boyer the top 5. Boyer crossing the line just a couple of tenths of a second ahead of Brad Keselowski, who came all the way to 6th. Jamie McMurray 7th, Eric Almirola, Mark Martin, Paul Menard the top 10. 20 cars finished on the lead lap, back through Marcus Ambrose in 20th.
That's a dream come true, guys. Thanks.
Matt Kenseth from the pole, first time since 1985, 3 straight winners from the pole. As Matt Kenseth plays capture the flag.
And Mike, it's neither at Vegas and here. It's not a gimme. That is a driver that had to drive with all the finesse he had to keep Casey Kane from catching him. Made no mistakes, flawless those last 20 laps.
Here's our 5-hour energy, big move of the race. Casey Kane draws right there, but Matt Kenseth has the line. Pulls away. '26 Sprint Cup win for Matt Kenseth in his 480th start. There's Coach Joe Gibbs, who gets his 104th series victory and his 4th of this season.
Matt's wife, big celebration.
We welcome you back to Kansas, and Matt Kenseth holds off Casey Kane. The podium finish, Jimmy Johnson of Hendrick Motorsports rounding out the top 3. You're watching the Sprint post-race show near the home office of Sprint, where Matt Kenseth becomes the 3rd repeat winner this season after just 8 races.
Kansas, 2 wins this year, second win at Kansas. Describe the challenge of trying to hold off Kasey Kahne once again like you did at Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's funny, we had a big-time softball game last week, and we were talking about it a little bit, but he's finished second to us a couple times. So, man, I really thought he had me. My car would start getting loose into 3, and I got really loose into 3 with about 5 to go. I actually did it twice in a row and thought we were going to get beat. But, man, thanks a lot to Jason Ratcliffe, everybody at Toyota, Big Power, JGR, Sprint, Home Depot, Husky Tools, Dollar General, Gatorade, Citizen Watches, and GameStop and Research. We got great partners over here. Man, this is a dream come true to drive this stuff, man. It is awesome.
Matt, when you talk about that and you go to a new team, and you once told me you never know when you're going to win again, but to start the year like you did, can you describe what this means for you personally?
You really don't, and standing here right now, you don't know, if or, hopefully when you'll ever win again. So, I mean, our cars have been so incredibly fast all year. We don't have all the finishes to show for it, but I'm so thankful to have another win. Hopefully I'll get us up there a little bit in points, and, I really, I knew it the first time I talked to these guys. I really still feel it. I mean, these guys are contenders. They're an awesome race team, and glad to be wheeling this thing.
And Krista, the last time this very race car hit the racetrack, they took it to victory lane in Las Vegas. They need to keep this thing in storage for all the intermediate races.
Meanwhile, with Kasey Kahne, 267 laps. So did you need it to be about 270, or did you need that cloud to come out?
I needed clouds. We tightened up a little bit that final run, and putting 2 on and 0 and all that throughout the race, I knew we were going to be a little loose, but I didn't think it'd be quite that bad. And Matt was fast, so it sounded like I just did everything I could, and he'd kind of go to those spots and couldn't make any ground. But it was still a good race. Thanks to Farmers Insurance, 85 years of Farmers Insurance, Chevrolet, Time Warner Cable, Quaker State. Everybody, my team's done an awesome job, and we fought back after a little disappointing last week, 11th. We came back this week.
It's an almost for Kasey Kahne in Kansas. Steve?
Well, Krista, the first thing Brad Keselowski did when he got out of his race car was survey the damage. That was quite a challenge, and you guys battled all day long.
Absolutely sure did. We got Boston Strong on the back of this car, and that's a good inspiration for this weekend to fight through everything. I want to let everybody over in Boston and Texas know we're thinking about them. But just a gritty effort by the 2 team today. Usually you're not happy unless you win. But when you have all the trouble we did today, to come around here with the 6th kind of feels like one. So I definitely got a lot to be proud of there.
Championship effort. Thank you, Brad. Let's go back to Krista.
Standing by with Jimmie Johnson. For Hendrick Motorsports, we had talked all week. Where are they? Well, there you are, 2 of you guys in the top 5.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday weren't fun. There wasn't a lot of smiles around our group, but everybody worked real hard to get the cars right, and I had a great race car today. At times I felt like I had a shot to win with my Cobalt Tool Chevrolet, and just didn't have enough for Matt and Kasey there at the end, but very solid performance for our Cobalt Tool Chevrolet.
Thank you, Jimmy. Chris Myers?
All right, thanks, Krista. Second closest finish this season as Matt Kenseth wins Daytona, the closest. Speaking of Jimmie Johnson, we'll check the final results and the point standings when we continue here in just a moment. Glad you're watching with us. Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers on the Sprint post-race show. Wrapping up from Kansas Speedway, Kenseth Kahne, Jimmie Johnson. Checking the unofficial results here. Martin Truex Jr. and Clint Bowyer. A couple of Michael Waltrip racers in the top 10 with Mark Martin.
And right behind those guys, Brad Keselowski. That team answered a lot of questions this weekend with the parts and the controversy that they had in Texas. To have a car that was damaged and battle back to a 6th place finish, that is awesome.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had the lead for a while, his best start in any race.
And Jeff Gordon, he's a sirloin. I mean, he fought that thing all day long and drove it to the 13th place finish. Great run for him. Dale Jr. and Stenhouse, like you said, they had troubles with that last caution that cost them positions.
And disappointing for Tony Stewart, who at this point last year already had a couple of wins.
Yeah, and this is the worst start to his career this point in the season ever, and his struggles continue today, finishing 21st. David
Gilliland with Danica Patrick was entertaining to watch as a Casey Mears get caught up in a mishap. David Stremme actually led for a lap, and Kyle Busch, who came in the hot driver, 2 wins, led more laps before this race. Now Matt Kenseth holds that distinction with the wreck, getting caught up with Joey Logano, and there is your winner here in Kansas. Let's check in with Chris Devoto, who's with Martin Truex Jr.
Another great run for Martin Truex. I know you want that win so badly, but you're finishing top 5 every week, so we know it's coming.
Well, yeah, I mean, today was obviously a great day for us, and, I caught a lot of grief this week, I think, for being so disappointed about second last week, and I'm like, it was all circumstance. You know, if we had a second place car, I'd be happy. Today, I'm super excited about our fourth place run. All the guys in the Napa team, everybody at MWR did such an awesome job all weekend long. I think the weather caught us a little bit today. Track was a lot slicker than we expected, but had to go to the back once, fought our way back, fourth place. All in all, a great day for us, and you know, really proud of the team, what they were able to do.
Another top 5 for Martin Truex.
Thanks, Krista. So every driver in the top 12 changed positions except for the points leader, Jimmy Johnson, and that's his biggest points lead of the season after 8 races.
Yeah, and Casey Kane is so impressive. Last year, his start was disastrous. This year, he's out of the gate strong, almost has won 2 races. So watch for him to be a guy that can win this championship in 2013.
Kevin Harvick hanging in there, has yet to get a victory. Jeff Gordon just outside the top 12. We talked about the point reduction for the penalty that hurt Logano, and he goes all the way down to 20th after getting caught up in the wreck today. We'll continue from Kansas. We'll take a look at the race next weekend. You're watching NASCAR on Fox, and for Matt Kenseth, his second victory of the year. Last 3 wins for him have come on a 1.5-mile track.